The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? Scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. What an interesting weekend it was in sports, both locally, regionally, nationally. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about, and I guess at the top of the list would be the Division III state championship game in which South Range played in, the girls softball team. Unfortunately, they could not get a victory, but well, anytime you can finish second out of all of the Division III schools in the state of Ohio, you've done something pretty special.
Look, only one team gets to hoist that big trophy that's gold and not silver. And South Range, second time they've gotten there in program history, second time in the last 5 years. You got to kind of just be proud of the accomplishments and use it as a growing pattern and realize that the program is going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And they've been one of the local powerhouses in the last decade, and I don't see that changing. But one of those ones that you never want to. The further you go, the harder it is to lose. That's the old cliche, and it's true. The further you go, the more that reality that you could win a state championship kind of gets into your head a little bit, and the harder it is to kind of part ways with that dream. But Fairfield was the better team on that day, and they flexed their muscles a little bit. Fairview, sorry.
Yeah, the Rasica girl drove in for a couple of hits. And the fact that Fairview did something that I didn't think could be accomplished, and they went after Bree Kohler, scored a couple of runs in the second, tacked on 4 more in the third. Now, South Range did commit 3 errors. You were there. How many of those errors resulted in some unearned runs?
The second inning led off with an error.
Okay.
And then they had, now 2 outs in a row and then back-to-back 2-out hits. So I think maybe one out of those 2 runs were earned.
Well, both of them were unearned then. If in that scenario that you just mentioned, both of them are unearned. So that's already you've given a team that is good enough to be in a state championship game 2 runs. That's probably not a good start.
And really, then the other errors just compounded because the game was getting out of hand a little bit, and you could tell South Range was getting tight, trying to make plays out of themselves, and that's where I believe everything's kind of jumbled up because it was such a hectic weekend, calling the semifinal on Saturday, then turning around and calling the final on Sunday. So, but I'm pretty sure that the other errors just came out of the tightness of being behind by 6 or 7 and wanting to make plays that maybe are a little bit out of yourself.
Sure, and when a team is down 6, the mentality is, well, I got to do something.
So
now you're trying to hit a bases empty grand slam.
Right.
Those don't exist.
That happened too. I mean, South Range, they're always aggressive, but when they got down, they got a little bit more aggressive. You could probably say overly aggressive. Went after some pitches that probably weren't the best pitch to swing at. A lot of infield pop-ups, but that we've talked about that stage. When things go a little bit wrong, they can go sideways real quick because of how tight a championship atmosphere can make you. And Fairview's credit, they took the momentum, they never gave it away, and man, did they shake off a bad game on Saturday. I mean, they escaped 5 errors, giving up 7 runs. Their offense kind of pulled them out of a hole a little bit. And it was their first time at the state tournament. They got a little jittery, but man, the defense that played on Sunday was not the defense we saw on Saturday. They made multiple Gold Glove caliber plays on defense. And really, you look at their numbers, you're not surprised. They've only made 21 errors all season. So it was more of a surprise that they made 5 in one game than it was that they made a lot of good plays on Sunday.
Yeah, 21 errors all year long, and 5 of them are in one game. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, 21 coming into the semifinals.
All right. Well, I mean, still,
now 26.
The fact that they were able to have less errors than games played is pretty remarkable.
Right.
So
and that's one of the reasons why they went on a 26 now 27 game winning streak. I mean,
yeah,
they lost the first game of the year 3-1, and then you look at those scores for the rest of their season. Almost every game was 9-0, 10-0, 14-2, 11-1. They were just blowing out people. Their closest tournament game was actually their sectional final. They went 7-5, and then they 9-0, 11-1. They beat Wheelersburg 10-7, and then they beat South Range 10-0. So they had a heck of a run this year.
Yeah, and obviously their offense was the calling card along with their defense. And look, they were the better team yesterday. They win a state championship. South Range, nothing to be ashamed of. That's their second runner-up in the last 5 years. Yep. That's not too shabby. And we've said this. If you can get a team to the state semifinals, you've done something incredibly special. Getting a state championship, that's a really, really difficult thing to do. But they got to the state finals, and that's pretty remarkable.
And these two seniors, Jillian and Bree, both just carried this team as far as they possibly could. I mean, Jillian made some really good plays at short, and Bree's been amazing all season. So the seniors did what they had to do. They got them as far as they could. They're going to miss pieces next year, but you don't get a program as good as South Range has gotten for the last decade without understanding how to kind of move on to the next year and replace pieces when you lose them. I mean, South Range has not had a pitcher in the last 11 years that hasn't gone on to play college. So they keep kind of finding people to go into that circle and shine the brightest on their uniform. And you look back at their history, and some of those pitchers maybe not expected to go and be that as good as they were. So they have a really good way of developing pitching, and they had Julie Stakowicz throw about 62 innings this year with a 6-0 record. So they got her some time this year to kind of build, and we'll see if that's where they go next year or if they have a young kid coming up in the ranks. I don't know. But I'm sure that even though they're losing really big pieces in Bree Kohler and Jillian Strakansky, that they will be able to keep this program just as high caliber as it always is.
And look, I mean, it's Champion is going to be good. They always are. Ursuline is going to be good.
They always are.
And they will be. And South Range will be good. And we'll get back to the clash of the Titans in D3 next year.
South Range is in the 8. It's still going to be really good. Hubbard had a young team that surprised a lot of people. They beat Poland a couple of times. And they competed with everyone else in the N8 except for South Range. So Hubbard's going to be – the league is going to be strong next year. South Range is always going to have a tough non-conference schedule. They're going to go back down to Myrtle Beach, and that's one of the reasons why they continue to make deep tournament runs every season.
Then you have the baseball team went to the district championship game, and they ran into the three letters that nobody loves to hear out of South Range. That would be Tri-C, Canton Central Catholic, and one of these days, South Range is going to beat a Canton Central Catholic team, and when it does, I think there's going to be a state championship caliber feel-like celebration, because I don't know how many times Canton Central Catholic in various sports has stomped on South Range's opportunities, hopes, and dreams, but yikes. And Saturday was another one, and look, the game of baseball can be so cruel. The fact that South Range left a small village on the field or on the bases, and they had 2 guys thrown out at the plate. They left 12 base runners, and they still only lost 6-4. And you could argue that they had the game in hand, and then Canton Central Catholic was able to push across a couple of runs and make it happen.
Yeah, I thought when Trey Pancake hit that home run that this is finally going to be the monkey off their back with the pitching South Range has. They have a late lead. It's only 1 run, but still, they have a chance to at least not give up 2 and give up the lead. But, man, Kansas Central Catholic, give them credit. They fought back. They didn't let the momentum turn, and dang, they're that bugaboo.
Yeah, they're an interesting team for sure, and I said something on social media that obviously ruffled some feathers, and I was just more of an observation than anything else. You look at the regional champions from our quote local regional. Division 1, Walsh Jesuit. Division 2, Akron Hoban. Division 3, Canton Central Catholic. Division 4, Warren JFK. All parochial schools. But then you look over on the softball side, all of the regional champions from our local regions were all public school. Yeah. I don't know how it works out that way, but it was weird how it happened.
You look at the Division 3 state semifinals, all 4 teams were public too. I mean, not too many non-public schools in the state tournament this year across all divisions.
Yeah, it was, but it's fascinating how this turned out. That all of the regional champs in baseball are all parochial school teams, and South Range had their chance against Canton Central Catholic. Canton Central Catholic scored 3 runs late, came back from a 4-3 deficit, won their game. Salem had the winning run at second base in the 7th inning against Akron Hoban, couldn't get that run in. And then Hoban turned out the lights in the 8th inning with a 3-run inning. It happens. Yeah. Thank God JFK was able to win the day for the area.
They had a great weekend. I mean, they just went. I think it was 12-2 and then 7-2.
Yeah, JFK has a legitimate chance to win a state championship this year in baseball. And yet again, we have another team that goes to the state semifinals from this area.
They have a long break to get ready. I mean, their next game isn't until Friday. So they have a whole week to kind of rest themselves, prepare. Hopefully they scout, both kind of teams because they don't have any time to practice if they win on Friday. So do your little due diligence and prepare for a team that you might be able to play if you're able to win on Friday. Don't try to split your focus too much, but at the same time, like basketball, you kind of gotta practice for both teams at once because you don't have a practice in between.
Yeah, here's an idea: go up to Canal Park and watch the 10 a.m. game between Lucasville Valley and Van Wert Lincoln View.
You can watch them, but if is that the first time you see them or the first time you know anything about them, you have no time to really, prepare for them.
Well, I mean, you're going to have limited knowledge on the game. You're going to have no knowledge from the other pitcher because they're going to throw their ace, or at least you would think they're going to throw their ace.
That's what's fun because in this level, it's pretty much here's my best, here's your best. Let's just go at it. Forget the scouting report. Forget overthinking. Because there's only so much you can find out about a team in the span of 24 hours.
And look, JFK is going to have their hands full because Fort Loramie is 27-3 this year, and they're a really good baseball team. You look at the upper bracket. Lucasville Valley's been on a magical run. They have 11 losses this year. They're 20-11. This kind of reminds me of South Range's ridiculous run when they won the state championship. And then you've got Van Wert Lincoln View, who's 23-8. So it's you got to beware of the team that has the double-digit losses because obviously they are on a ridiculous win streak.
We've talked about it in baseball. You can drop some regular season games and be a really
absolutely
team because you're throwing 3 and because you're playing 4 games a week and you can't throw your 1 and 2 all the time.
Exactly.
So you're going to drop some games. But now when you get in the tournament, it's set up so you can go 1-2, 1-2, and you can really make a run.
Yeah, and if your pitching holds up, where you don't have to go into your bullpen, you got a legitimate chance. But I mean, if I'm JFK, I'm going to the game. Friday morning at 10 a.m. I'm heading over to Canal and I'm watching these two teams play, knowing full well you're not going to see the starting pitcher for the next game, but you can have a really good scouting report on what these kids chase in the batter's box, how these kids field. And just go from there. You can get a pretty decent scouting report. But, look, JFK is going to have their hands full against Fort Loramie. And I still believe Cam Hollabaugh pitching, I'll go to war with that kid. And I'll take my chances with Hollabaugh because he's going to be the ace factor of this.
District championship in basketball, state runner-up in football, and now at least a state Final Four appearance in baseball. This JFK team is having a heck of a school year.
Well, were they the 2 seed or were they the 1 seed in basketball? Didn't they win the regionals?
They were the 2 because they went to McDonald's.
Yeah, so they crushed McDonald. They won the district
won the
championship and then got beaten in the regional semifinals.
Right.
Can we have this discussion right now? Because I've been racking my brain trying to figure out, okay, we're going to throw out all of the ancillary sports for a second. And I know it's a terrible thing to do, but we're going to focus on football, basketball, and baseball. Can you give me a team that has had more success than the Warren JFK Eagles this year? Football, state runner-up. Basketball, district champs, one of the 16 best teams in the state of Ohio in basketball, and they're now one of the 4 best teams in baseball, all in the same year. This is crazy good.
Well, South Range, that year they won state championship, went to the state semifinals in football, and then basketball, they ran into Canton Central Catholic in the district championship.
Okay, so district
it's
runner-up.
Close.
District runner-up.
State semifinals.
Semifinals, one of the 4
football.
best. One
then,
of the 32 best in basketball.
And then won it in
And
baseball.
won it. So that's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, state runner-up, so you're second.
Success breeds success, especially in the smaller schools when there's so many multiple sport athletes. You know, one of the reasons why South Range had that run, why JFK has that run, is because, hey, we go to state in football, we lose the state championship game, but all those kids that played football that go to the basketball team carry that standard. That winning standard, this is what it takes. This is how hard we have to work, and that winning attitude almost. Like, we can do it. Like, that's why they went into McDonald's bracket, because they were like, guys, we just went to state in football. We can beat McDonald.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and they went and they did it. I mean, success breeds more success, and I'm sure that the players that just played basketball were kind of lit with a fire because they had these football kids come in that are just coming off a state runner-up. And then the kids that played just baseball were fired up because the basketball kids are coming in and saying, we just got, beat the high mighty McDonald team that everyone was so high on. We beat them on their floor in districts, and we're going to show you this is our winning culture, this is our winning standard, and it just trickles down to the next sport.
Well, here's a scary thought for everyone that thinks JFK is going to be leaving when Cam Hollabaugh graduates. This team has 5 freshmen on the team, and all 5 of the freshmen play. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about it with South Range softball. Cam's a big piece, but they have plenty to kind of rearrange the board and move pieces around.
Yeah, it's a crazy weekend, and the weekend started with the roar that you heard from in the southern part of the Mahoning Valley came from the village of Salem. Moments after Salem knocked off Canfield, and the dumbfound thought that people can't see it, but we talked a little bit about this amongst a bunch of people. Just pure dumbfoundness for me was the idea that Canfield did not throw their ace against Salem in the regional semifinals. Now, truth be told, the theory behind that was Canfield had already played Akron-Hoban in the regular season, and Petro pitched, and they were able to beat Akron-Hoban. And the thought process was, well, they haven't seen Vital
Cheese.
They saw Vital Cheese through against Hoban.
Okay, I was about to say, wait a minute.
Vital Cheese threw against Hoban, and they were like, okay.
They haven't seen Ryan Petro.
They haven't seen Ryan Petro. So we're gonna throw Vital Cheese against Salem, and then we're gonna save Petro for Akron-Hoban. I hope that people now understand what I say when tomorrow's not promised to anyone, and you got to throw your ace.
They didn't lose because of pitching, though. I mean, 3 runs is a lot on Canfield standard, but Salem just pitched
I get it.
Amazing game.
I get it. I get it. But you
and
gotta
we
understand.
talked about Canfield too. I mean, their pitching staff is like ace, ace, ace.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, Vital Cheese is a Division I commit, or he's committed, not signed. Commit. So I mean, Is it really like not throwing your ace when you throw
It
your
is.
D1 commit?
It is, because Petro was first team All-State, and he had the glossy numbers. And I'm not saying that Petro would have done any better, but I think that if you go with your ace and then say, you know what, Beidelshees beat Hoban, we're so confident we can beat this team anyway, even though they've seen our guy
Who
once.
threw when they played Salem in the first game of the year?
Petro did.
Petro threw that game?
I believe he
I'm
did.
going to look.
I want to say that he
Because if
did.
he did, then you don't throw him in the
Yeah, but that's
rematch,
that. I
right?
mean,
the reason why you don't
do you
throw.
does people understand if using that logic in Game 7 of the American League Championship Series? Well, Shane Bieber. Oh, they've seen Shane Bieber. We got to go with someone else. That is just no. Good pitching beats good hitting. It doesn't matter if you've seen him or you haven't seen him. Good pitching always beats good hitting. Go with your ace. Go with your ace. You overthought it. And I'm not saying that it cost Canfield the game, but it
Ryan
just...
Petro did pitch against Salem, by the way.
You
and,
had to pitch Petro in that
5
game.
innings pitched, 1 hit given up, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks.
You had to pitch him in that game. I mean, look, and throw Beidelshees against Hoban. I looked at that and I even said on the air, because I thought Petro was pitching. I didn't see the starting lineup, so I just assumed, okay, Petro's pitching in this game.
Box score for Beidelshees, by the way, 7 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs, none of them earned.
Yeah, bad defense behind him.
1 walk, 10 strikeouts.
Yeah, so it was bad defense behind him too, but
1 error,
yeah,
but it was a costly one.
yeah, it just
Look, you gotta,
it's a bad optics.
you-
It just is.
You hold the team to 3 hits and you have 5 yourself. No, you hold the team to 5 hits and you only have 3. The offense is got to pick up a little bit.
I just think it's bad optics when you don't go with your ace in the regional semis. I get the argument. Trust me, I get the argument. But my Lord, I didn't see the lineup and I was like, oh man, both of these guys have to be on their A game. This is going to be interesting. The whole 9 yards, pump this whole thing up. Then after the game was over, did you know Beidelshees pitched? I'm like, what? Beidelshees pitched. I'm like,
Do you want the take from somebody that was there?
what?
I was there.
Yeah,
I saw it.
yeah.
Beidelshees was there wasn't anything. Listen, I went up to Gary before and I said, wow, this is an interesting take. And he said, we went by the numbers. Beidelshees has not seen Salem, vice versa. Petro has not seen Hoban. So you look at this, it's not like one was a senior and one wasn't.
No, I get it.
So, and from everybody's standpoint, Canfield still got next year circled as the year, right? When they've got their seniors, they're loaded up. Petro, everybody considers him the ace, first team All-State. Beidelshees was also All-State. And my thing is there's a lot of people talking about, well, I would have done this, I would have done that. Gary did that, 23 times in a row without a loss? And nobody questioned him then. So, sometimes you talk about it all the time. A manager has gut instincts.
He does.
He went with his gut feel with Beidelshees, which is a hard throwing lefty, which Salem doesn't see much of outside of Gavin Bruni. And Bruni had some success against Salem, relatively speaking. So I think that goes into it. I mean, Gary, he had a 9-page scouting report on Salem. So for us to sit back and question it, it's what we do, naturally. But he knew something that we didn't. And let's not just completely walk away from Salem. They played a hell of a game.
Oh, absolutely. And they were tired of hearing about the Canfield people and everyone talking about how great Canfield is because they played the disrespect card perfectly.
And that's the thing. But there is some, there is some momentum that came with, because I heard, and I didn't see this, but I heard reports that Petro was even warming up in the bullpen before the game, trying to play that card of they think they're seeing Petro, they're getting Beidelshees.
Yeah.
But what they didn't know, Canfield, was that Coach DeBar had a lefty come in all week just in case and pitch batting practice to Salem. So, this was when you're at this point, you're at this level, it's a game of chess. And both coaches did an unbelievable job And it was one of the best games I'd seen all year.
Yeah, but sometimes people overthink stuff.
So what would Petro have done that Beitelcheese couldn't? And I'm not saying that he couldn't have, but Beitelcheese was no like.
Oh no, I'm not saying that he was. I'm not saying that he was, but it's just a bad optic when you leave your ace.
But how is he
away?
The ace? Beitelcheese he didn't lose either.
I get it, but I mean, at the end of the day, the coaches picked Petro as the first team All-State, and Beitelcheese was first team in first base. Mm-hmm. I'd have gone with Petro, and I understand. Okay. Beitelcheese hasn't pitched against Salem. Petro hasn't pitched against Tobin. If we're using that logic, then, and I know it's comparing apples and oranges, but then Game 7 of a series, well, you've already seen Shane Bieber. Well, we can't use him. That doesn't look. Good pitching always beats good hitting. Doesn't matter if you've seen him once, twice, a million times. If the guy's good, and he is, let him go. Just let him pitch his game and take your chances. And I think Beitelcheese against Tobin would have been successful, and Petro against Salem, Beitelcheese against Tobin would have been the formula. It's now, having said that, as Anthony said, 3 errors in the game, or all 3 of the runs were unearned. That you can also say, hey, it wasn't anything Beitelcheese did because the defense let him down. Okay, and you can do that too.
It wasn't even like that. I mean, it wasn't. You said 3 errors,
1 error.
Well, yeah, but all 3 of the runs are unearned. That's a huge error.
Yeah, if you're looking at Game Changer right now and you're playing Monday morning quarterback, yeah. But if you watch the game, it was a tightly contested game. The errors could have gone one way or the other.
Sure.
And the thing was, I believe they were both in right field, or the one was in right field, and it really shouldn't have been an error because it just let Rhodes go, which he was going anyway, I believe, from first to second. So it's take a penny, give a penny kind of thing.
Yeah.
To blame it on the defense, I think is unfair as well, because that game was those 2 teams. We talk about it a lot this week. That's 2 teams where if they play 10 times, you're going to get 5-5, 6-4 every time, because there's a lot of people, and press included. We had to make some corrections prior to the game with people of the press saying Lane Rhodes pitched in that first game. People look at the box score and they go,
I know.
Oh, Carson Rhodes got blown away.
No. Lane Rhodes started that game, and what was it? 1 hit after
3 innings.
3? Okay.
And that was a 0-0 ball game, and it was, I think, 1 hit on the other side as well for Salem. So you had a couple pitchers going at it, which is what I think everybody anticipated, and they got. But because you look at that and go, well, Petro's All-State, which he is, in all due respect to him, it just gave an out for some people to look at that and say, well, that's why Canfield's not here. That's not why Canfield wasn't there. Beitelcheese did a phenomenal job. The defense was there. It was just a situation where Salem was able to take advantage 2 more times than Canfield. That was just it. And the hitting was at a premium that day. And you had, Salem had the edge. They had the edge because they felt that, okay, you're going to tell us that Petro is going to show up and then you're going to throw a quote-unquote number 2. That's a mental edge for a team in Salem that you don't give mental edges to, because they are, and I mean this with all due respect, they are unstable. They are bananas.
Well, they played the disrespect card perfectly, and that was the icing on the cake when they sat back and go, oh, it's bad enough that we haven't been given our just due by anybody outside of YSN. Oh, and now you're going to throw your number 2 against? Okay.
And we saw it happen earlier this year in softball. We saw Ursuline started with their number 2, and South Range took advantage of it. I mean, it's just part of, okay, we're going to try to change things up a bit. You think you're going to get this, you're going to get a jab, and we're going to throw a hook at you. It's just it's part of the game.
You were there. Salem scored in the top of the first right away, 1-0. I know Canfield came back and scored again in the bottom of the second. But how much did that first run really set the tone that, we're here, you're not going to trample us? And we talked about with yesterday, being in the away team, being able to put the aggressive first. Did that affect the tone of the game?
Listen, anytime Lane Rhodes gets on base, Salem was hyped up. I mean, Lane leads from the bump. He leads from, inside the batter's box. That's why he was our player of the year, because he can do that and elevate his team to that level. When Lane Rhodes gets on base, it significantly changes that offense. I mean, he's got Wilms behind him. He's got a load. Coletta's in there, another senior. And they were on a mission this year. They were on a mission to prove themselves, to do something that's never been done in program history, and they did it. And I think when they put, the whole idea, and I'm kind of paraphrasing by Coach DeBar, was putting all the pressure on Canfield at that point. Because there weren't a whole lot of teams this year that did that, and Salem felt they could put the pressure on, and with Lane Rhodes going, one of the area's best pitchers, you can shut the door. I'm convinced that if that was the only run of the game, because Canfield's run came kind of on a wonky play, because it was a fly out to, and Ron, you're going to have to help me out on this being the umpire, a fly out to right field. Donnie Ash makes the catch. There's a runner on first and third at this point. The runner from third goes in to score. The runner from first goes to second. Didn't tag up that we saw. Comes back. The throw comes in from right field to first base, and they called it, but said it wasn't a force play. They counted the run because it wasn't a force play.
It's not a force play.
It is on a fly ball to right field. The kid loses the ball on the transfer. Okay? That's the way they called it. So the catch is made, loses the ball on the transfer.
Okay.
There's no tag from first to second. He's out kind of like a cooked duck at second base, coming back to first, trying to get back safely.
Are they throwing it back to first base?
They're throwing it back to first base.
Then that's not a force.
Why?
Because you didn't make the out at second base. You got him caught in a rundown because
on a fly ball.
Yeah, but the only way it's a force is if you get the out at second base, then that run doesn't count. But now because he's been hung up in a rundown of sorts, you can get a run scored.
But is he
before
a
the
rundown when
final
all you have
out.
to do is step on first base? And
That's a
out?
force play.
You don't have to tag him because he didn't tag up.
He didn't tag up. He's coming back to first to try to get back on.
But that's not a force. I mean, you're doubling a guy off at first base. That's
Isn't that the definition of a force when you can step on the bag and it's out?
That's a force play. On a fly ball, if he catches it in right field and it's on the transfer, he loses the ball, right? Because we at the end of this play.
But if it's on a transfer, okay, the out is okay. I got runners at first and third. Ball is caught. The umpire is saying that on the transfer from glove to hand, the ball is dropped.
Yep.
The umpire, who's clearly out in the field looking at this, is saying, pointing and going like this, as if to say, no, it's out on the transfer. Mm-hmm. Runner tags and scores from third base. Mm-hmm. And this kid thinking, okay, I'm going to go to second base because the ball was dropped, then realizes, oh, crap, he called him out. I got to hustle back to first base.
It's a forced play.
It's
the same as if he catches it in right field and throws it to first base and doubles him up.
What's the definition of a forced play? Is it the tag, or is it the fact that he wasn't forced to run to second because there was no one running to first?
He wasn't forced to run to second because This is an interesting call. It actually is an interesting call, and it's obviously a rare one. So you make a good argument with that.
It's a forced play.
I mean, you make a really good argument with that. I mean, if you catch the ball, and even though the kid dropped the ball, but it dropped it on the transfer, and I'm assuming there was one out in the inning.
There was one out in the inning.
Okay, so that's the second out. Kid tags from third, and is scoring.
Because that run doesn't score. The way that I've played baseball and know baseball, and listen, I could be wrong, but I feel 99% that I'm right on this, is that run doesn't score if there's a forced play on any of the bases.
Right.
Any of the bases.
Doesn't matter if he crossed home before the out.
It's the same as if bases are loaded and the runner scores, crosses the plate before a guy gets to first, and he's out on a forced play at first. That run does not count. It's the same exact mentality.
I'm curious, was the call in question argued by
both sides?
Okay.
Salem was arguing that the runner scored.
Okay.
And Gary was arguing that it was a dropped transfer. He wanted it to be a drop ball,
Yeah.
no catch.
Yeah.
But that had already been dictated. So you had,
Well-
it was ridiculous because you had
Well,
two coaches on the field.
well,
arguing two different
hang on a
things.
second. Who wanted the drop ball?
Canfield.
Canfield.
Because then they would have a runner on second with.
Because you'd have the runner out at second base.
No,
No, because they threw it to first.
they threw it to first.
But
So if that ball was ruled dropped,
The kid would have been at
Kid would have
second
been at
base.
second base.
And then you'd have another kid at first base and another kid scores. So then you'd have a 1-1 game
yeah, with two on and
with one out.
yeah.
And two on. Canfield argued that it was a drop ball, which, listen, 50-50 could have gone either way. But Salem argued that that force at first nullifies the run, which anytime and listen, I'm not, again, I was a catcher. I knew some of the rules.
Yeah.
Because it's all in front of you. And I actually umpired for a little bit. A force, you cannot score if a force is still in play.
So they didn't make either call. They kind of did a compromise.
What they did was they said that it was not a force, even though they called the guy out at first. To my knowledge, and to our, I mean, we didn't have a real great angle. There was no tag. There was no tag of the runner.
Well, you wouldn't have to tag the runner
Right,
yes.
if
Step
the
on
throw if the
If
ball
it's a
goes
force.
back to first.
If it's a force,
Yeah, I mean,
but
it-
if it's not a force, as they indicated,
now,
you do.
now, hang on. Now, if he did tag and waited until the ball was dropped, and then went off the first base bag
at second
as the
base.
ball was dropped, now you can see the argument
But
of.
then
He was at
he
second
would have
base.
had
But he was already at second base.
There was no way that he tagged, at least from our vantage.
Okay,
even
so
if he
the
did, he
the
would have
only
had to have been tagged.
the only way then that this call is right is if the umpires believed that the runner at first base was still on at first base or had tagged at first base as the right fielder caught the ball, and then as he dropped it, he's motoring to second base,
But he
thinking
still
that
has
he
to
dropped
be
it.
tagged out.
No,
If
but
it's
but
not-
if he was on the bag when the ball was actually caught,
Right.
and then as the ball it's dropped, he thinks, okay, this isn't an out. I'm flying to second base.
Uh-huh.
So
But if he's retreating back to first base,
He's out automatically going backwards, right?
no.
no,
you can
he's
retrace.
not out automatically, but he has
Oh,
to be
right,
tagged
because-
out
But that's
because
what I'm
he's
saying.
already
That's
because
softball.
he's already tagged at first base. Went to second base and the umpire said, "Oh, you're out." Well, I was already tagged and I was already on the bag when the kid caught the ball.
tagged up. So
Yeah, he already tagged up.
right. But if he retreat, because you can retreat to any
You
bag
can
you
you
want.
can retreat, but if you're retreating from first base having already been tagged up, you cannot be forced at first base. You have to be tagged out at first base at that point.
Correct.
Because you've
And-
already been tagged
and
up.
He wasn't. He wasn't. I mean, I watched it. Unless there was some phantom tag, he was not. And it was a bang bang play at
And
first.
unless he was not tagged, that's a bad call.
Did he run on contact then?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I was watching the play at third, but the conversation. I mean, we had media row there, and the
Yeah.
conversation was some guy saw him tag, but he would have to be Usain Bolt to have tagged from first to go to second, and then the question would be, why would he come back to first? Because
Because the umpire yelled out and on the transfer, so he's going to be like, "Oh crap! Now I got to get
but
back
if he
to
knows
first
that
base."
he tagged up,
Well,
he gets second base.
Exactly, but then
And then
you've-
if it's not a force, as the umpire said,
yeah.
it goes in his favor.
But
So
how
he's
many
sitting-
how many kids are going to sit back and go, "Well, I've already tagged up. I'm golden. I'm just going to go into second base. Not a problem."
I don't know what the communication was. This was the play of the game.
Yeah.
Like, this was the momentum shift because Salem, even though they gave up that run and things got knotted up, they had the momentum going into the dugout because they only gave up one.
Yeah.
Whereas Canfield was pressuring Lane Rhodes for the first time that day. They got the run right back that they needed to. I mean, one way or the other, the call was wrong. It was wrong. Either that run shouldn't have scored, or it should be a no catch, and Canfield's got 1 out, runners on first and
See,
second.
I can see where an umpire says, all right, he's clearly caught the ball, and on the transfer, if you catch the ball and on the transfer the ball skips out of your hand and it drops to the ground, yeah, you're going to be called out because it's going to be on the transfer. Much like when a kid tries to turn a double play in the infield, whether it's 6-4-3 or 4-6, on the transfer the kid is tagging the bag, trying to get out of the way of the kid that's sliding, ball comes out of his hand, the runner's out at second base and it's on the transfer.
So I've got a ton. I mean, it was a majority crew that we know personally.
Yeah.
They were gone after the game.
Yeah.
And you don't stick around for those.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where I can't wait to see that or one of those umpires again. I want to have a conversation. Just not critiquing them,
No.
But I want to know what they saw on the field because obviously from our broadcast position, it's never relayed to us other than, the home plate umpire did a nice job of, I asked him, I said, does the run count? And he said the run counts. And then it just started like, okay, how does that happen?
Okay, the only way that I can see it happening, and I'm throwing this out in my head because you're right. If it's runners at first and third, and it's a sacrifice fly to right field, and the right fielder catches the ball, but the guy on first base is caught in no man's land, and the throw back to first base doubles him up, the run that scores from third base doesn't count. It doesn't count. So the only way that this could be possible is the scenario that we've laid out. Runners at first and third, 1 out, fly ball right field. The guy at first base is on the first base bag as the outfielder catches the ball, or he's close to the first base bag and goes back, tags on the bag. Guy catches the ball on the transfer, trying to throw the ball home. Ball gets knocked out of his hand or slips out of his hand. The umpire wisely saying, hey, it's on the transfer, runner's out. The kid from first base is like, oh, I'm going to try to get second because the ball is on the ground, so I'm going to try to get second base. Takes off towards second base. The right fielder sees, oh, I got this guy dead to rights, throws the ball, and the guy going from first to second goes, shit, now I got to turn around and get back to first base. It's not a force at that point, but like you said, you didn't see the tag. You could have very easily had the first baseman pop the tag on the hitter. That's a double play. However, that run does score.
Yeah.
That's the only way it could.
The only thing,
what I understand,
the only thing I distinctly remember is Lane Rhodes, who was the pitcher, was on first when that ball came back in.
Okay.
So you had, I believe it was Jackson Johnson out for a cut in case the ball got away.
Yeah.
I don't think Lane tagged. I really don't. And they said it was a non-force play, and that's why the run scored. And it just, none of it made sense. None of it it made sense if you did one or the other, but it didn't make sense when you did both.
Yeah, it would have to be. It has to be a force play if the call is made in right field.
That's out number 2.
It's out number 2.
He loses the ball.
And if the guy is straying off of the first base bag and gets doubled off,
you're taught as a runner to go halfway.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, or a third of the way if the ball's hit near you.
You see that ball trickle away from the right fielder.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the transfer or not, a runner is going to say, I better get my tail to second base before I get thrown out at second and I give up an out anyway.
Yeah.
So what he saw was the ball go away. I don't know if the call was made immediately or not. I can't tell you. But I know that the runner inched towards second base because when I looked up, he was hauling ass back to first to where the throw came in, and it looked like a forced play because I did not see a tag. Now, I could be off on this. Coach DeBar or somebody from Salem can come in and tell me I'm absolutely wrong. We can always go back on the tape. But I didn't see anything, and there was confusion by everybody. And both sides, by the way, best crowd I've seen all year.
Yeah.
Both sides exploded on the umpires. And
well, of course.
It just wasn't explained very well from a standpoint of, okay, force play. Like, what they should have done is brought both coaches together and said, this is what we have. Instead of you got one umpire handling one side and one or two umpires handling the other manager. It just, it was, and I'm not saying it was a bad call by any means, or it was what they saw. But it looked like there were different viewpoints.
So
on
this is the
field.
reason why I wish I always had my rule book with me, because that's a hell of a
It's 100%.
it's a hell of
It's a
an
force.
interesting
Right.
it's a hell of an interesting call.
There's no way that's not a force play.
Yeah, and like I said, the only way it's not a force play is if the kid is at first base
And he tags up.
and he tags up and he runs towards second base, then it's not a force.
But isn't there something that umpires do whenever there's a force play? Like, you guys have all kinds of signals and stuff like that. Like, isn't there something that you communicate with each other so that way you're not crossing each other up on what you saw? Or no?
Well, I think everyone, because they're and help me out here, was how much was the crew? Was it 3 men?
4.
Okay, so there was 4 men. All right, so the first base umpire is going to be the go-to guy as far as, okay, what did you see? Did you see the runner at first base on the bag as the ball was dropped? That's the key. If the guy is on the bag as the ball is dropped and he hightails it towards second base, now it's not a force.
Yeah.
Now it is, okay, now I'm in a rundown, that run counts.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be 99% sure without seeing the game, without seeing the footage, that's what happened.
I'm going to see if I can pull it up.
Because that's the only way you can justify that run. Because by your count, if the runner did not tag at first base or was not on first base when that ball was dropped, then it's a force play.
But here's the thing: is if it's not a force play, or if it is a force play, that runner's safe at second. Why is he running back to first?
He's safe at second only if he beats it. He's forced at second base.
Listen, he was on.
He's forced it. The kid. Here's the thing. The kid, from the kid's standpoint, he may not have heard the umpire say out on whatever, and then is hightailing it towards second base, knowing that if you throw the ball to second base, I'm getting forced. But because the out was called and he tagged up and is trying to go to second base, oh, okay, well, no, wait a second. Now I'm going to have to go back to first base. Now it's no longer a force. You have to tag him out.
I mean, when you see it in all levels of baseball, it's a long pop fly and a guy's trying to get an edge, trying to score from first to home.
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah.
And a guy makes a play in the corner, left field corner. That dude's got to retrace his steps.
Yep.
And let's say he's halfway home. He's got to go to third.
Yep.
He's got to go to second.
Yep.
And he's got to go first.
Yep.
Before the ball gets back to first base, where it is a force out. How is this any different?
If he tagged up before the ball,
Again, but let's assume and say that there was no tag. He's trying to
if
get
it's
back,
no tag, then it's a force. But if it's a tag, it's not a force anymore.
But Anthony looked up the rule, and there's something in there.
This is what it says, and this is from BaseballRuleAcademy.com. It says, if a runner leaves base too soon and caught a fly ball and then returns on an attempt to re-tag, this is considered a time play and not a force out. If the appeal is the third out, all runs scored by runners in advance of the appealed runner who scored ahead of the legal appeal would count.
No sense. Makes no sense.
So I mean, the thing I got is that out is not considered a force out. It's considered a time play. I don't even know what a time play is.
A time play is when you're trying to throw the ball back to a base to beat a runner in what is known as a non-forced play.
Which is what that was, right? 'Cause he
Well,
didn't
again,
tag up.
if he tagged up, it's not a forced play anymore. If he didn't tag originally, then it is a forced play.
But it's a time play because you're trying to throw behind him to get him back before he steps on first base to be safe. Because he's not forced to go to second.
He's not forced to go to second base on a fly ball.
So you can see in the 2 minutes that all this happened.
Yeah.
Why Richie and I were sitting there like, what?
Now that's not NFHS rules, which I'm going to assume the NFHS rules are going to be the same thing. So it's not if it's now considered a timing issue, then the run would count.
But that's why the whole thing, why I bring this up, is when you look at that score and you say, well, he should have thrown Petro instead of Bidelshie. Like, there was more to the novel
I get
than
it.
that.
I get
there
it.
was a lot more to unpack
I get it.
than who pitched and who didn't.
I get it.
And that was, like, that play changed the entire – to me, it changed the entire game. Because if Canfield is the beneficiary of that call and they say it was down, Canfield scores again, I think. And I'm not taking anything away from Lane, but they had the momentum.
Yeah.
They were at the part of the order they wanted to be.
Yeah.
And we might be talking about Canfield playing Hoban the next day. Which
Well, that's
we'd already
and it
seen.
could have happened that way.
But
I
it's-
just, I mean, from all the years that I've done baseball, all the years that I've seen it, you go with the guy that is your best player in the first game, because tomorrow ain't promised to anybody, and if you don't win,
You know what? If they did,
it's not a good look
if
if you
they
don't
threw
win.
Petro, then maybe Ron wouldn't ask this question, but plenty of other people would ask, why did you throw the pitcher that Salem already saw?
I mean, let's face it. We've seen it plenty of times this postseason.
Hindsight's
South
20/20.
Range
No,
did
I
it
know.
against Crestview.
I know.
And then we had Salem did it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's one of those things where it's easy to talk about when it happens like this, but what would we be saying had Bidelshie's won that game?
It was
do you sit there and you go,
it's the roll of the dice. I wouldn't have agreed with it, but you obviously, when you rolled the dice, you looked for a number and you got the number.
I mean, he's the coach of the year for
No, I
a
get
reason.
it. Listen, I
knows
get it.
He knows his staff.
And-
And listen, Bidelshie's, like, he's good. He's going to Army.
I know.
They're in the dance.
Well, they're not anymore, but
Well,
but they were
but
in
you know what I'm
the
saying.
field of 64.
Like, let's
Damn
not-
right.
Let's not just snark at him like he's some bum off the streets, throwing 72.
No, absolutely not. He's a
But
good pitcher.
And that was the reason. Gary was very upfront with me when I asked him, because he obviously he's part of our YSN
Sure.
family, and he said, "Listen, here's what I'm thinking."
I mean, I'm not destroying the guy. I'm just saying this is why
There was a little bit
No,
of
I'm
bullet fire.
I'm not destroying anybody. I'm just saying this is the reason why you throw your ace. When you and I understand Canfield has options out the wazoo. That's why they were undefeated this year. But if you have the guy who's considered to be your best pitcher, you got to use him in the first elimination game, because there is no tomorrow without.
I get it.
You can't assume. You can't assume tomorrow.
But how
and
many-
but on his side, good Lord, I got an embarrassment of riches here. I can go with whomever and take a chance and try to have my guy throw in the regional championship game. It's okay, but again, you have to. You can't look forward in a tournament. You just can't.
Well,
you got to play the one game, and that one game is your life.
I get that, and I'm completely on board with it. But on the same token, we can't sit back and go, "Well, you should have done this, should have done that," when they're the ones out there. They're the
No,
ones.
I get
listen, maybe, and I don't know this for a fact at all. Maybe Petro had a bug. Maybe,
and that could be the case.
and it's not. But it's one of those things where you go, a manager has to know his team up and down. Gary knows his team. Mike knew his team. And you sit there and you go, okay, Gary was worried about Canfield baseball. And
Yeah, of course.
He could care less about who was on the other sideline, who was in the other dugout. He wanted to say, listen, we take this, and we are in great position. He can't anticipate that Salem's going to show up and score 1 in the first and then 2 in the third, or whatever it ended up being. I mean, it's a scenario where an embarrassment of riches, I think, is the perfect way to say it, Ron.
Yeah.
You nailed it. But
Well, I mean, look, and again, it's a bigger stage. It's obviously a bigger stage, and clearly there's a big difference between Major League Baseball and high school baseball. But let's fast forward to early October. Let's assume that the Cleveland Indians get one of the wild card spots, and they're playing the wild card game, and Terry Francona doesn't pitch Shane Bieber in the wild card game. You don't think he's going to get crapped on if the Indians lose that game?
listen,
He'll
He's
get
a Pirates
destroyed.
fan.
He will get destroyed by the media, and I'll be one of the first in line to say, "What the hell? Why didn't you throw Shane Bieber in the wild card
What about the
game?"
years where Garrett Cole wasn't the starting pitcher for the Pirates in the wild card game?
To which I said, "What the hell? What are you people doing?
But then
He's
they
the
won.
ace of your team."
But they won.
Well, again, it's and if you get a gamble and it pays off, okay,
But
doesn't
you're
make it
not
right.
You're not going to see Garrett Cole for 5 days after that. That's the thinking of Clint Hurdle. The thinking of Gary had to be, and I firmly believe this because that's what he told me, so I take it for what it's worth, is Hoban hasn't seen Petro.
I get it.
Okay, so they can watch it on video all they want on YSN, but it's different than seeing him in the box.
Oh, of course.
So Beitelscheiss is a kid that Salem hadn't seen, and I don't want to say that they struggled with left-handers this year, but I mean, you got a pretty good one in Bruni, and if you're comparing Beitelscheiss to Bruni, the velo is just a little bit different, 3 to 4 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But the reality is, there are some takeaways from that. As a manager, looking at sabermetrics, and you go, listen, they might not match up well against a lefty. We might be able to sneak past, and then you have your ace for the championship setting, which the other teams don't. Tri-C did the same thing against South Range.
I get it.
They waited. They had Christian Harris, who they pitched. They held off. They felt like they could get by that team. Now, to your point, if they don't get by,
Ooh, man.
but the reality is, I think sometimes when you do that, you invigorate your offense.
Okay, listen, the guy who gets the gold star in all of this, and I'm certainly not going to crush anybody. And again, Gary Nettle has been fantastic all year long. I didn't agree with the decision, but it's his decision. Okay, whatever. The guy that gets the gold star is the head coach from Salem, because you said 15 minutes ago, well, I'm going to have a left-hander come in here, and then we're going to practice all week long hitting left-handers because they may pull this, and we're going to be prepared. You get a gold star.
I mean, Mike DeBar is.
You get the gold star, Coach DeBar.
Coach.
You get it.
Yeah.
That is crazy good thinking right there.
Well, I mean, they've never been this far. And what was crazy was Mike just one step at a time. You know, we'll take it as far as it goes. We're just going to go game by game. Coaches say that all the time. But if you're Canfield, there's a little bit more pressure because you've been there before. You've raised the big trophy. And now you've got all this talent. People are expecting you to be there. The Quakers did not expect to be there.
No.
They went for the ride of a lifetime.
Yeah, they did.
And it was, Coach DeBar had a fantastic year. Lane Rhodes was the undoubtedly the leader of that offense and defense. It was an honor to watch both of those teams do battle because knowing that they're both, number one, in our family, that's some great baseball. One of the best baseball games I've ever called in my life. And, it was exciting because there was drama everywhere.
That's good. Playoff baseball is better than anything in the world. It just is.
Yeah. Hockey's the only one that I would say
Well,
stands up.
yeah, I mean, the Stanley Cup playoffs is better than anything that anyone has ever created in all the four major sports. But playoff baseball it's there, especially if it's a one-game elimination. Game 7 of a series in baseball. There's nothing better, with the exception of Game 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's
bottom line. Congratulations. To
both schools were crazy good.
JFK's the only one left.
Yeah, and 5 freshmen on that team. They ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Gonna be fun.
They're gonna be a lot of fun for sure. All right, we're gonna take a timeout because Bolish is coming up next, and then do we have the Salem or the South Range softball coaches coming on at 2? Yep. All right, so we'll be talking about the South Range 2021 phenomenal season with the head softball coach at South Range. That'll be coming up momentarily as well. Dan Abolish coming up next. Then we'll hit the phone lines at 330-886-0813. Back in a bit. Stick around.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, we go the extra mile for you.
By finding you the right vehicle at the right price.
And by being with you for every mile of your journey.
Visit greenwoodchevrolet.com and tell us how we can go the extra mile for you.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier. With Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
And welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Let's get on the horn, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, where we find 21 Sports Director Dana Balish. Dana, how are you today, sir?
Doing well, Ron. Yourself?
Doing well. You know, the weekend that was, 3 different locations for the track and field state championships within Columbus. From a television standpoint and from a coverage standpoint, how difficult was it for you guys to go into these 3 different areas to cover the track and field championships, and when normally you have all 3 of those divisions in one umbrella, Jesse Owens Stadium?
Well, I mean, Ron, we rely on a lot of parents and athletic directors and administrators, because certainly you can't be in 3 spots at one time. And we had so much going on this weekend with regional baseball and track and field and softball, and things got pushed back a day with baseball and softball. So we rely on athletic directors to get us those photos and information. And can we be everywhere? No, we can't. And so the challenges is just making sure you get the information gets back to us, and being at 3 different sites. Excuse me. In the past, we'd have an athletic director maybe watch out not only for his kids but maybe some other kids to kind of keep us informed. So at 3 different sites, that was a little more challenging this year, but we tried to do the best we could.
Yeah, and you guys did a phenomenal job from all of us at YSN. Talk about kind of, we got 1 team left in baseball, and the last team standing in the area as far as baseball and softball. So when you reflect on kind of how the year went and what to expect from JFK this weekend, and from your perspective, how both baseball and softball went this spring.
Well, I think first of all, hats off to the baseball and softball teams, whether they're still playing or were eliminated or whatever. I think when you come off a year where you didn't play, you're 2 years, and I thought we had some great games. I thought some of the matchups were very, very interesting. I kind of like what the state did this year as far as with the big district when it comes to baseball and softball, and even they did it in basketball. And again, I thought that was pretty well done. Unfortunately, for Canfield, played Salem for the second time, and Salem prevailed. South Range and Gilmore Academy played earlier in the year where Gilmore, won, so, South Range was able to battle back. I mean, but I think, if you get to this point, it's all about pitching. I mean, if you got a solid 1-2 punch, I think, you have a chance to do something. Now, you have to have, some of the sticks as well. And I think, JFK has kind of proven that first time that they've been in the state Final Four in baseball, and what a year it's been for JFK. I think I touched on it last week. I mean, basketball wins the district, football plays in the state championship game. But, you get to this point, and, they're all pretty good teams. And if you look at JFK, they're going to play a very good Fort Laramie team who I think, has close to 28 wins or so, maybe a couple of losses. And that's a program that always seems to be in the Final Four, wherever they play. But, Laramie is a team that, comes kind of from that, I think, southern part of the state, in the southwest near the Cincinnati area. So, it's an overnight trip for them, where for JFK it's going to be, hey, let's hop on a bus at, 10 o'clock, get over to Akron. So I think, psychologically that may be an advantage, but, there's not a lot that, you could look at a team, I guess, and look at some of the numbers and statistics and scores, but you just really don't know. So I think, look, JFK has a great shot just like everybody else has. They hit the ball, both Friday and Saturday. They got solid pitching from Hollabaugh, and, they're kind of a Cinderella story.
Dana, we talked a little bit about this earlier in the 12 o'clock hour, and I've been trying to rack my brain. We made mention Warren JFK goes state runner-up in football. They're one of the 16 best teams in basketball, getting to the regional semifinals, and now they're one of the 4 best teams in baseball, all in the same academic school year. I can't think of another program that has been this good in all 3 sports in the same year.
No, Ron, I'd have to kind of go back and look at the, when Ursuline was winning some baseball championships, I don't know where they were, football-wise, but those years seem to. But you're right. I mean, look, the common denominator in all this has been Cam Hollabaugh. Not only has he been, phenomenal on the baseball diamond, he was the Trumbull County Player of the Year in football and the Trumbull County Player of the Year in basketball, and that's happened only one other time before in more than 30 years. So, you got to have solid pitching, and again, I just think this is a program and a group of kids, and if you go down the roster, I mean, there's names, there's some football players on there, there's some basketball players on there, but again, I think Hollabaugh's the only one who's played all 3 sports. So, it's a program that is, gelling or whatever you want to say at the right time, and, sometimes a lot of kids will pack it in if they're not being successful, but this is a group that's been resilient. And I think the success on the football field kind of carries over to the other sports, whether it's basketball or whether it's baseball. And does it carry over to the football season? I'm not sure, because you have new personnel. You're not playing with the same kids. But I really think that, it's been a great year for JFK. And you're right, Ron. I don't know if it's happened. I'm sure it's happened before, but nothing comes to mind right now.
Yeah, and talk about just the way that we talked about it with Ron a little bit earlier, but the way that when you're successful in one sport, you can kind of trickle that down, that culture, and you can trickle down that the work and the work ethic it takes to get to that stage, and what an advantage it is to the schools that do have a lot of multiple sport athletes that can carry the success from one sport to the other, and like Cam Hollabaugh at JFK and the other players that played football, basketball, and baseball can kind of carry that winning culture from one sport to the next.
Well, I think first of all, you got to look at the individuals, and when you have that success, in the football season, when JFK had that success, I'm sure the basketball team was affected because they couldn't start their season on time, or whatever. So I think when you have that success, it goes to another, then the basketball kind of team says, okay, if they can do it, maybe we can do it, and you just gel. And the same thing with baseball, but again, to have an individual really be, the key guy in all 3 sports is unique. And you can look at on the girls' side. I mean, Jackie Grosdell at Poland's kind of been that way in track and softball and that sort of thing. In basketball. So there's another 3-sport star. But again, again, you could have 3-sport stars, and I just think the success you have in one sport when you're that person, you bring it right. You bring that excitement to the next group, and then to the next group, and I think that's what's happened at JFK this year.
Over the weekend, McDonald's boys, who I thought had a really good shot at winning a state championship, they had a 36-31 lead on Minster going into the final event late Saturday afternoon. And the final event in a track and field meet is the 4x400 meter relay. Minster won the event, and that put them from 31 to 41 points because the first place team gets 10 points. So if McDonald finishes in the top 4, if they finish in 4th place, they tie Minster for a state championship. Anything above 4th place, they win the state title. McDonald comes in 5th place. They finish with 39 points, 2 in back of Minster, but still, McDonald just really came with their A game and so close to winning a boys track and field state championship.
Well, they had the most athletes going down, Ron. The boys and girls at McDonald, they had 20 total athletes competing. The boys had 12, the girls had 8. So when you have that many athletes participating in various sports, obviously you get that opportunity to score some points. And, the McDonald track, the McDonald cross country, Maplewood track, Maplewood cross country, I mean, those programs are elite programs in my mind when it comes to that various sport. And, the proof is in the pudding there. I mean, McDonald's won 7 cross-country state championships. Maplewood's won 7. And it just doesn't start somewhere. I mean, there, usually, young men and women who run track run cross-country and vice versa. So, when you could send 20 athletes, down to a state track meet, you have a very good shot of doing very, very well.
Yeah, and we did have several state champions on track as well. From I think Valley Christian's 4x100 team won state, and several others. Talk about what it's like to kind of be able to shine a light on people that have reached the pinnacle and won a state championship.
Look, anytime you win a state championship, that's the highest honor you can get in high school athletics. And whether it's an individual honor, whether it's a team honor, there's not a lot of state championships out there. And, a young lady from Maplewood who was a freshman won a state championship. I can't remember the event she was in. And I think that's special when a freshman can do it. And, it's special when any team or any individual does it, but when a freshman does it, you're like, wow. So, that's the highest honor, and, it's fantastic when local athletes can do that.
Hey, Dana, a couple more things before we let you go. Obviously, over the weekend in Columbus, John Rahm has a 6-shot lead after the 3rd round of the Memorial Tournament. That's Jack Nicklaus's tournament over in Dublin. And after the 3rd round is over, he tests positive for the coronavirus, is forced to withdraw from the tournament. There's no question he would have won the tournament with a halfway decent 4th round because he was 18 under par, 6 shots better than his competition. Wow. That was a tough break for John Rahm.
Well, and again, Ron, I don't like the way that was handled. I mean, if that happens, you bring him into, the scoring tent, the scoring room, and that's where you explain it. You don't do it there with cameras rolling. And again, is that good TV? Yeah, that's certainly good TV, but for selfish reasons. But, in that situation, and Ron, I can only assume he was tested, and then he played his round and it came back, negative or positive. And I just don't like the way that was handled. I mean, he's the leader of the tournament. He's coming off 18, and you tell him right there before he even goes into the scoring table. Again, I mean, I know they have to do what they have to do, the PGA and the tournament officials, but I just don't like the way that was handled. And again, it was great TV to see that emotion, but picture yourself kind of in that situation. How would you react to it? I mean, you're playing, tremendous golf. You come off a great round. You have a very comfortable lead, and you're walking off after 18, and, oh, by the way, you tested positive. You have to withdraw. I would have just liked to have seen it handled a little bit better, maybe in private, and then if John wanted to address the media from that standpoint, he could have. But I wasn't a big fan of just how that was handled.
You've been in TV for a while. You don't have to go into specifics, but have you ever had a situation like that where you could tell yourself, this would make really good television and probably be really good to see on FMJ, but then also, that conundrum of, is this ethical, or is this something that, I would personally want seen on TV if it were me? That's something that I'm sure every TV professional, if they've been into the business long enough, has to, come with that crossroads of that decision.
Well, again, in our business, you want someone to be natural. You don't want to ever stage anything. I mean, you want it to be natural. Look, it's very simple. And since we're coming off the softball tournament, one of the examples was, at the softball tournament, when the game ended, whether your local team won the state championship or lost, they had the post-game press conference in a room where it was very, very quiet. And some of us kind of got together and went to the state and says, hey, we need that emotion. We need that emotion of someone being on the field. Look when someone wins a championship at the national level. They get that emotion on the field. That's what we want. And, Tim Street and a couple of us worked on that, and we were able to do that. Not long interviews, just a couple of questions to get that emotion. And that's what we wanted. So we tried, you try to get that emotion. You try to get that, that feeling right after a game. When you go into a post-game press conference, that's okay, but it's the emotion of television where you want that. And you see radio people do it as well, and website people. I mean, you want that emotion right after the game, and I think that's important. So, that was one of the things that I was part of, when it comes to, high school athletics in the state. Hey, look, we need that emotion. Give us a minute to ask a couple of questions, and that works well for us. But again, it's just the emotion of any athlete. When you work so hard and you reach the pinnacle, I think that's when you get the raw emotion, you get the natural emotion, and that's what it's all about.
Dan Abolish, TV 21 Sports Director, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Before we let you go, a tale of two different teams over the weekend with the Scrappers, a really brief two-game homestand with State College. Saturday night on Fireworks Night, a 21-gun salute as the Scrappers scored 21 runs in a 21-6 victory. And then on Sunday, State College sent 14 men to the plate in the very first inning and got a 12-2 win over the Scrappers. So kind of a tale of two different games, but by and large, Scrappers have been playing some really good baseball, 9-2, and there's some really good-looking kids that I anticipate being drafted this year.
Well, and again, Ron, it's the case of where, basically that team is put together and you start playing the games. And, Coco, I think, has done a good job of getting a lot of players, on the field, a lot of arms on the mound. The rules are a little bit different, which I think is a little interesting for fans who go to the games. But certainly, look, Coco's a lot smarter than I am. He knows what he's doing. I mean, I think he's got 2 weeks under his belt now to kind of know where these players are. And, that's a good thing. And look, for these players, to have someone like Coco Crisp managing you, who's been at that level, who's kind of gone through the same thing that they're going through, of being drafted and playing in the minor leagues. Look, I think players they'll get their experience of playing games at this level and perhaps at the next level. But I just think, hearing the stories and that, I think that's going to be very valuable for a lot of these young guys.
Hey, Dana, always a pleasure. Look forward to catch up with you next week.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. 21 Sports Director Dan Abolish giving us a shout on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. He's right on with the experience factor and the fact that Coco had a very successful Major League Baseball career. credibility is through the roof. He's been there, done that. And these kids, if they're smart, and all of them are, they're going to get as much knowledge off of Coco Crisp as humanly possible, and hope that their name is called during the 20-round Major League Baseball draft, and use the knowledge that they have hopefully gotten this summer with the MLB Draft League, and use it wisely on their trip to the major leagues.
And I think that's why one of the reasons why the Scrappers had so much success, especially in the first handful of weeks of the season, because like Dana said, these guys were just kind of thrown together and said, hey, go play baseball. That requires a lot of trust right off the bat of your manager and the decisions he makes and the positions he puts you in. When you have Coco Crisp, it's really easy to trust what he's saying because of the established career he has. So that could be a really good reason why the team had success, especially the first couple weeks of the season.
Well, not to mention the pitching coach is a former big leaguer in Ron Mayhew. So you have two former big leaguers as the manager and the pitching coach. Right away, the credibility level is off the charts for the coaching staff.
And not just like, hey, I was in the big leagues for like a couple years, or no, we were established careers in Major League Baseball. So.
Well, absolutely, and it's a great thing that these guys are hopefully giving back to the baseball community in terms of trying to get the kids that are playing in this league drafted, number one, and then hopefully the lessons that these kids are learning this summer is going to be used during their hopeful minor league and soon to be major league career. And not all of these kids are going to be drafted, and not all of them are going to be in the major leagues. Maybe one or two of these kids or more will be in the major leagues. But the journey, that's a pretty cool journey. Let's get to the phone lines real quick. You're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
Receive future comedy calls. Just visit www.comedycalls.com.
Oh, comedy calls. Yeah, okay. Yeah, comedy
I think
calls.
someone tried to prank us, but we didn't turn them up long enough to get the punchline.
Yeah, well, it's what it is. Comedy calls. I got a comedy one for you. What was it Rodney Dangerfield used to say? I tell you, I get no respect. Last night I called suicide hotline that put me on hold.
Oh, God. Don't go there.
330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. We made mention Scrappers are 9-3. They're on the road. They're off today. They got a 6-game road trip, 3 games in West Virginia, 3 games in Frederick, Maryland, and then State College comes to town 1 week from tomorrow. Because Mondays are an off day league wide for most of the 2021 campaign. The Mondays are an off day for the league.
Now, do they use this day to travel, or are they practicing today?
Oh, I'm sure they're going to be practicing. I mean, it's not like you have a long journey ahead of you. It's a 3-hour trip from here to Morgantown, West Virginia. So it's not that big of a deal. And even if you, I think the furthest city for Mahoning Valley is Trenton, and that's a 6.5 hour trip, if that. You could do that during the day as well. Leave at 9 o'clock, get to the ballpark or get to the hotel by 3, and just head over to the ballpark and play the game. Go from there. Hell, you can leave at 8 o'clock, get there at 2 o'clock. So it's not that big of a deal. And I think one of the things, and I've been saying this for on the broadcast, one of the mistakes that needs to be taken care of for next year. This schedule is not balanced. It's unbalanced, where we're playing an awful lot of West Virginia and State College. Well, West Virginia is a 3-hour trip. State College is a 3-hour trip. Frederick, Maryland is a 4.5-hour trip. That's not that big of a deal. Williamsport is, a 5-hour trip? 4.5, 5 hours? That's not that big of a deal. Again, Trenton, that's 6 hours. That's not a big deal. I mean, if you can get these guys ready for the minor leagues, here's a news flash. Minor league bus trips are going to be a little bit longer than that on occasion. So if you're going to get them ready, let's really get them ready, and let's have a balanced schedule where, if you want to play 60 games, 5 different teams, 12 games per team, 6 in their place, 6 in your place. Let's go. 2 trips to Trenton, New Jersey, 2 trips to Williamsport, 2 trips to State College, 2 trips to Frederick, 2 trips to Morgantown. Let's go. I think that the balanced schedule is the best way to go, because it's not like you're playing a league in which one team is in Siberia or some city that's like 12 hours away on a bus.
Wouldn't that be crazy if they had all these teams like here and they had one team that was like in Texas?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be stupid. But look, I'm coming from the Southern League. You had when the league was prior to everyone moving. I think Huntsville moved to Biloxi, Mississippi. Mobile is moved to back to Huntsville. But when I was in that league, you had a team in Jacksonville. You had a team in Mobile, Montgomery, Birmingham, and Huntsville, Alabama. You had a team in Jackson, Mississippi, or on the outskirts of Jackson, Mississippi. You had a team in Knoxville, the outskirts of Knoxville, a team in Chattanooga, and a team in Jackson. Jackson was the furthest west from this 10-team matchup. And the trips we had to make... Oh, and a team in Raleigh, North Carolina. So North Carolina was the furthest east, while Jacksonville and North Carolina were. And Jackson was the team furthest west. Now, you made one trip to North Carolina from Jackson, Tennessee, and you made one trip to Jacksonville, Florida. 12 hours on a bus. There were no two ways about it. You had to go 12 hours on a bus in order to get to those 2 destinations. But you only did it one time. You could see the unbalanced schedule. Right. But Jackson's closest trip was 3.5 hours to Huntsville, Alabama. That was their closest trip. A lot of 6 and 7 hour bus rides, which, okay, been there, done that. No big deal. You got to give these kids the full money. If you're gonna open these kids' eyes to minor league baseball, give them the full money and say, hey, you're gonna make 2 trips to Trenton, New Jersey. Get on a bus and go 6 hours. And 6 hours is child's play compared to some of the bus rides that you can be on.
Well, yeah, you could be driving to California in a 23-hour bus ride.
It just, yeah.
That's where you just say, be like, you know what? My baseball career is over in Missouri.
Yeah,
15 hours in, I quit.
Yeah, in the late 90s.
Shut me up.
Yeah, here's the disturbing 12-hour bus ride that we had. So the league that I was in the late 90s is the Texas Louisiana League. It was a fly-by-night independent league, and there was a team on the Texas-Mexico border in the Rio Grande Valley. So we're deep, DEEP deep in Texas. And we had to make a trip with an off day. We had to make a trip from the Rio Grande Valley to Amarillo, Texas.
This is a comedy call?
12 hours on a bus. We didn't leave the damn state. Ridiculous. All right, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. What's going on?
I'm not messing with you, man.
It's a comedy
You
call.
better start talking.
Yeah, you talking to me? Huh? You talking to me?
I'm going to ask
Yeah,
you
get the bleep out of here, you freaking moron. Yeah, tough guy. You talking to me? Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Maybe we can.
Hey, we're getting callers.
Yeah, maybe we can get Jack Nicholson on board the next time.
Hey,
You can't handle the truth. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. We will be talking with Jeff DeRose, the head softball coach of the South Range Raiders, coming up in about a half an hour. Great year for South Range. Unfortunately, just a tough finish. They ran into a buzzsaw in Fairview, and Fairview was able to beat South Range.
And no one makes excuses, and Jeff DeRose won't make excuses, but it was a long weekend.
Oh, absolutely it was.
That state tournament was supposed to start on Thursday. The rain canceled Thursday. Everything got pushed back a day. They had to, there was graduation on Saturday, and obviously their two seniors missed graduation, got their diplomas at home plate, and then had to turn around the very next day and play a state champion.
Yeah, it's tough.
And when you go the whole tournament with breaks in between games, and then all of a sudden it's back to back,
yeah,
it's tough. Fairview's in the same boat. They made the adjustments, and South Range didn't, so there are no excuses. But it is a tough, long weekend.
No, there's no question. It's a very long weekend, but like I said, if you get to the state Final Four, you've done something, and if you can win a state championship, well, obviously it's the best that you can do. State runner-up, hey, there's nothing to hang your hat on or hang your head down on a state runner-up. I have no idea. You're on the they hung up.
Oh.
Yeah, they hung up. So because we were going to do a comedy call.
They keep trying, man.
Yeah,
I like the tenacity.
I look at the number and I'm like, I'm not buying it. Sorry, just not buying it. We'll take a time out. Be back on the other side.
One of these times you're not going to answer, though, and it's going to be someone that's like, we're offering you $1 million if you answer this call.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, oh, man.
Yeah, that's it's just my luck. By the way, speaking of luck, guess how many points I accumulated in this golf contest over the weekend?
90?
No.
Well, I thought you were going to be lucky.
No. This was the epitome. This was the epitome of terrible.
50?
I had 20 points. Yeah, I had 20 points. So
I'm guessing John Rahm being out didn't help.
John Rahm being out certainly cost me 10 points.
See who you picked. That's why I write this down.
The guy that withdrew from the tournament cost me another 10 points, and the rest of it was just bad decisions on my count. So that is what it is.
You picked Victor Hall. No, that's last week. Sorry.
Yeah.
You picked Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah, I did. He sucked. He was terrible.
How did actually you and Brian both picked Bryson DeChambeau.
He was terrible.
What about Colin Morikawa?
He was terrible as well.
Okay, well, we're all
so it just look. I mean, at the end of the day, well, hang on a second. Morikawa. Let me look here real quick, and because I know with Rahm out of the tournament, we went to a playoff. Yeah, Morikawa lost the playoff. Yeah, he lost the playoff to Cantlay.
I was so close.
Yeah, so it sucks to be you, but at least you had someone that was relevant. Unlike Bryson DeChambeau, who was terrible this week.
Brian's Power 5.
Yes, he was.
5.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
So.
And did I have Patrick Cantlay? No, of course not.
He had Bryson DeChambeau sometimes.
He was terrible.
Terrible.
It was just terrible.
It was terrible.
Now, the last time he was terrible, and I bagged on him, he won the next tournament. Right. So,
well,
and the tournament this week is the U.S. Open, so you never know.
There was one where you and Brian and all of us really were all saying his style just won't work on this golf course, and then all of a sudden he went and won the thing.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's
golf's hard to predict.
Yeah, golf is a really hard sport to
it's a fickle
predict.
Monster.
It is. It's a fickle monster, that sport of golf. All right, 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Jimmy Sutton here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Bad credit, no problem. I can get you approved for a low-interest loan and maybe even a low-payment lease on a new car at the #1 Chevy dealership in Trumbull County for 3 years in a row. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved or come see me, Tony Page, to get a new vehicle today. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business. We're hoping to, later in the week, to get John Mang on. He is the guy that is in charge of the Mahoning Valley officials. There is a significant shortage of officials in all sports.
They're in the stands all the time.
Yeah, well, they're in the stands.
I see them all the time.
Yeah, they're in the stands being quite vocal about stuff, but they don't show up to umpire or referee or yeah.
I stayed and watched the final state championship game at Firestone yesterday after South Range lost.
Yeah.
Keystone versus Triway. Great game. Keystone, what a program. They scored 5 runs in the top of the 7th to win a state championship. But, man, those fans take softball very seriously. I mean, they've won 5 state championships now, so they should. But, man, were they hard on umpires?
Well, it's...
But I love the energy of that crowd. I wish every softball program had it. South Range had it. Keystone had it, but I've seen a lot of teams go far. And you look around at a regional championship or a regional semifinal game, and you're thinking, why are only the parents here? You know, it's one of those things. But Keystone, that fan base for the softball team.
Awesome. Yeah, except for the fact that you rag on the umpires mercilessly.
Well, that's just part of. I mean, it wasn't anything like. There's a difference between heckling in a softball baseball game and just like brutally, you're crossing the line.
Yeah.
It's almost a rite of passage to be a baseball fan and be like, Blue, you got your glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's, and those that say, I got mine. And they're
Blue, I think you lost your cell phone. I see some missed calls.
Yeah.
Those are very terrible.
Check your cell phone. You missed 4 calls.
Terrible jokes on original, but just for examples. But nothing was like, they weren't swearing at the umpire, which that's my... Like, when you start cussing everything and then like, you have kids in the crowd, too, that's when I go...
Yeah, you got to just
But
stop that.
It was all this good-hearted heckling. Nothing was drawn at personal at the other team, which is also thumbs up. They had a good crowd.
That's good. But there's a serious shortage, not only in football officiating, also basketball, which boys and girls basketball, it is very difficult to get all of the officials to do some things. And it's to the point where I know the baseball umpires, it was to the point where we have had a really difficult time trying to get umpires, not just on the JV level, but on the varsity level, and then now with the summer league. It's tough because we have a serious shortage of baseball umpires.
Do you think that was because now COVID restrictions are all but gone. We're starting to kind of come back to normalcy. Do you think some of the umpires that said, I'm not going to do this because of COVID, will come back and help that a little bit?
Honestly, I don't know, but the numbers were shrinking prior to COVID.
Oh, yeah, they've been shrinking for a while.
Yeah, which is a little disappointing.
One factor might just be the way that we have started to treat referees and umpires at high school sporting events. I mean, we've seen a lot of crowds get completely out of line in high school basketball.
No, absolutely.
That might. I mean, we've seen referees at football games have to be escorted out by the police. I mean, it's not for the weary-hearted if you want to be a referee.
Yeah, and we've seen some umpires get chased into the locker room by fans that are morons. And there's no other way to say it. You're a moron if you do something like that. Hold your emotions in check. It's just a freaking game. It's not the 7th game of the World Series. And even if it were the 7th game of the World Series, you're a moron if you do that. Right. So it just is what it is. But there is a shortage, a serious shortage of officials. And, it's going to come a point in time where it's going to be felt. And it's already starting to be felt. It's going to be felt a whole lot worse if we don't get this under control. And John Mang has had football classes, basketball classes, baseball classes, and look, I do the baseball games. I do the umpiring with the baseball games, and I'm not the best umpire in the world, but it's something that is enjoyable. And I decided 3 years ago, when I had John Mang on terrestrial radio when I was doing my show, we had this conversation with John Mang, and he said, look, we're in dire need of officials. And I said, look, I have to be part of the solution and not the problem. So I signed up for the baseball classes. And let me tell you, you can consider yourself to be a really, really good baseball fan and think that you're somewhat knowledgeable. Go take an umpiring class and figure out how knowledgeable you really are.
We just had a 20-minute discussion on what the rule was for. I mean, that's going to pop up, and it pops up
exactly
more often than not in baseball. Where you go, I've never seen that before.
And here's the thing: you read the rule verbatim that said timing play.
Right.
Timing play supersedes force play. So the run scores. In Major League Baseball, that's not considered to be a timing play. That's considered to be a force play, and the run would not count in Major League Baseball. But because it's considered a timing play in high school...
And remember, that wasn't the NFHS. I didn't get that off the NFHS website. That was just like baseballrulesacademy.com. So,
yeah,
but you could assume the NFHS had the same kind of...
But if it's a timing call, then obviously it's not a force, and the run scores.
It's a force out, but not a force play. And there's
exactly.
a difference between the two.
Exactly. So the run would count.
Right.
And it's tough. I mean, I've been saying for a long time, high school baseball needs to be a lot closer rules-wise to Major League Baseball and minor league baseball. The re-entry thing, I don't like re-entry rules. Of course, we saw the re-entry rule in yesterday's game with the Scrappers.
And I'll tell you, most stuff in softball, baseball, interchangeable. There are some pitches that are different. But when remember that Javi Baez play and I did it again today.
Yeah.
I forget that baseball players can run backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Because in softball, once you take a step back, you're out.
Yep.
You can't stop and run back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can if you're tagging up or something. But, like, if you're... Let's say it's a double play or something, and you try to escape the tag or whatever it may be. Once you run backwards in the baseline, you're out. And that kind of caught me when I saw Javi Baez run back to home plate, then run back. I was like, once he steps backwards, he's out. But that's not in baseball.
Yeah. Now, I mean, he could have stopped and forced the guy to tag him out, but good for Javi. He ran backwards, and all Craig had to do was just,
all he had to do was catch
step on the bag.
Take a few steps backwards and step on the bag.
And even mental fart, mental brain fart, and it happens.
But some broadcasters said this, and I think I was brilliant. I mean, the perspective is the game moves so much faster on the field than it does watching on TV.
Indeed.
As easy as it is to just bash on him and say, all you had to do was step on first. Javi Baez put a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah.
And the brain just didn't work that fast.
I mean, and you know,
the Pirates become a punching bag, unfortunately. But
well, and Craig got designated for assignment over the weekend, unfortunately.
Right.
I don't think that play helped, but
He could've
his
been
hitting
one
didn't
reason.
help either.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, you don't see guys making plays that you think, okay, that's weird that he did that, but that's brilliant that he did that. I'll go back to almost 3 years ago. It would have been 2 years ago. Was it Chase Franken's senior year when they played? Oh God, who the hell did they play? Brookfield, and he was Columbiana was up 8. And Columbiana was up 1, and he caught a pass and was 20 yards ahead of everyone, and he was going to be scoring a touchdown. There's no two ways about this. He was going to score a touchdown, and he said, and he looked around and thought, well, if we score and kick the extra point, they're still one possession away from tying this game with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So I'm going to slam on the brakes and give myself up. Therefore, Columbiana keeps the ball, and they run out the time because Brookfield was out of timeouts. So he slammed on the brakes, put a knee down, and that was the end of the ball game, essentially. You don't see that happen very, very many times when a player is that focused on the intricacies of what's going on. That's where, you know, it doesn't happen very often. That's why you sit back and go, damn, that was a really smart play.
yeah, that's right. I mean, that's one of the smartest plays in football, and that's one of the especially when I see that kind of stuff happen in high school, because a lot of these kids are young and they're high on themselves a little bit. I'm going to score a touchdown. You know?
Yeah.
I got this, man. And
yeah.
To have the presence of mind to be like, team before me. Because he could have scored and he would have gotten the stats, but he said, let's make sure that we win this game, take the knee, and they did win the game.
I think the other really smart play, and you can go back about 15 years. You remember Chris Gent, who played at Ohio State? I think he was a 2-guard. Played for the Buckeyes basketball team. Ohio State was up by 2 or 3 points, and they had the ball. Or they were up 2 or 3. The opposing team was inbounding the ball. Gent stole the pass. So instead of waiting for someone to foul him, he threw the ball up in the air as high as he could toward the backcourt, knowing that time is going to run out before that ball lands on the floor. That is one of the most brilliant decisions I've ever seen a kid make. In all aspects of basketball, instead of, you know, and I think they were only up 1, because if you foul him and he hits a shot, you go up 2. He hits both free throws. It's still a 1-possession game. Okay, I'm going to throw this ball as high as I can toward the backcourt, and oh, by the way, nobody's going to be able to get this ball before the clock runs out. It was a brilliant play.
Better hope you're right.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because if somebody grabs it and turns around and throws up the basket, you're going to have egg on your face. But no, I thought it was brilliant how he did that, and he threw it the other side of the court. So if a kid got the ball, he would have to turn around and throw a past half court shot to tie the ball game. So it was a brilliant move by him. You don't see things like that happen very often. Anytime something like that happens, it's pretty cool. That, you know, and we gave Craig all kinds of grief when he did it at first, but you know, you get locked into a game and you get sucked into what a player is doing, and instead of chasing him, you could have very easily stepped on the bag, but he didn't think about that.
I mean, did any of his teammates say, hey, go step on the bag?
I don't know.
I mean, Like that's one of the things you also ask is like you put it all on him, but I mean,
Yeah.
you have to think that one of his teammates also should have been like, "Hey,
Yeah.
just
I mean, I would have said, dude, turn around, step on the bag.
on the bag,
Yeah. I mean, but,
because that would have been a forced play,
absolutely,
and the run would not.
wouldn't have counted.
Goes full circle.
Goes full circle. we have culture references. We also have full circle references. So there you go. All right, so we have one baseball team left. They will play on Friday against Fort Loramie in the state semifinals, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Teams play them in another sport because that name sounds very familiar.
It does, and I thought for a second that they were part of the Midwest Athletic Conference.
Is that
They're
who
not.
JFK lost to in the basketball regional semifinals?
I think it is. Now I'm going to have to really look at this, and because I know that name sounds so familiar.
I think that's who JFK lost to in the semis in basketball, Fort Laramie.
All right.
Pretty sure. Now I'm getting more confident in that too.
All right. See, now I have to look this up. Okay. The name sounded so familiar. I was thinking that it was the team that JFK or Springfield played in the football.
No,
but they didn't.
Springfield played Fort Fry.
Yeah.
And then for the championship, they obviously played.
All right, so we're going to go to Division 4 regionals. JFK lost to Lucas. No, they beat Lucas. I'm sorry. They lost to Richmond Heights.
Oh.
Yeah, they lost to Richmond Heights.
Shoot.
Yeah, so they were a regional runner-up. They were one of the eight best teams in the state of Ohio in basketball. Because we forget that they won the regional semifinals, beating Lucas by 6, but then they turned around and lost to Richmond Heights by 17. I don't know what Fort Loramie. The name, I know the name, but I just don't know what Fort Loramie has done against the Mahoning Valley. But I know that name.
We've said it. We've said it.
Yeah, we've said it so many friggin' times. Did we say it in football? Did they play somebody in football? We've said that name way too many times during the course of our 2 years. I know we have. Ay.
Were they in the like basketball states or something? I mean, was it maybe a
No, they were not in the basketball tournament. So now I got to look all this up. Doggone it. But I know that we have said Fort Loramie's name
basketball?
enough. Maybe it was. Maybe it was.
I think that's who McDonald lost to. Fort Laramie. Yep.
Is that where that's who they lost to in the state
McDonald
championship game?
In the state championship.
All right, then that solves that mystery. Yeah. All right. So it was the Fort Loramie beat
Right.
McDonald in the Division 4 state championship game in girls basketball.
Whew.
Okay. I knew that name sounded familiar.
The world is right.
All right, the world is now right for everyone. That's good. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, open for business. Coming up at 2 o'clock, we will chat with the head softball coach of the South Range Raiders. Jeff DeRose will be joining the program. We'll talk about the phenomenal season that was South Range softball. They come up just a little bit short, but hey, state runner-up, that's not too shabby.
And like every game of baseball, softball, almost every game, there were opportunities for that game to go a little bit differently. And the South Range can look back and say, even though it was 10-0, there were still chances to make a run at that game. I believe in the second inning after Fairview scored 2, South Range put 2 on with 2 outs, and hey, if they get a base hit, then maybe that game changes a little bit. They're able to stem the tide. Even after Laramie, now I'm thinking Laramie. Even after Fairview put 4 up in the next inning and went up 6-0, Gretchen Bartels out of the 9-hole hit a leadoff double, and you have a runner on second with nobody out for the top of your lineup. There were definitely opportunities to be had. So it's not like you came into the state championship game and you got absolutely devastated and wiped off the floor. Just didn't make the opportunities. And the opportunities were small, but they were there. So, it's one of those things.
Hey, by the way, did you totally off topic with sports? But did you see who the Canfield Fair has lined up?
I did not.
For the music. Darius Rucker.
Ooh.
To appease the country people. Not that music is country; it's pop music with a twang. I hate today's country music. It's not country music.
Some of it is.
Some of it is, but the majority of it is.
In the sense that it's about a green tractor and.
Yeah, I mean, if the song does not include cheating ex or an ex, a dog, a pickup truck, and beer, it's not a country song. It has to have one of these elements.
Wait. What about The Devil Went Down to Georgia? That doesn't have any 4 of those. It's one of the best country songs ever be recorded.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I didn't want to put Satan into this conversation. You did.
And God, a lot of country singers think about
that's true. But Charlie Daniels, that sounded country because you had the fiddle going, whole 9 yards. When's the last time you've heard a fiddle in a country
every country
modern
song has
country?
The violin fiddle.
Yeah, I don't know. The last really good country music that I've heard was Garth Brooks, who, by the way, in the Kennedy honors last night, oh my God, was that good.
I grew up, my mom listened to a lot of country as a kid, so like when I think of the country music I like, this is way off topic, I don't know how we got here, because the Canfield Fair, but I think of like the 90s country, like George Strait, Garth Brooks, John Michael Montgomery.
Yeah.
Tim McGraw.
Yeah, the last bastion of country music where it sounded country.
That's the one that I listen.
I'll go back to George Jones, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Alabama, a couple of the other.
Alabama's, they were still kicking when I was a kid.
But good stuff. Hank Williams, Senior and Junior. Although Junior was more into other stuff, but we won't go there. But Darius Rucker will be there. No word on whether the Blowfish are going to be there. So you can have a country and, by the way, Hootie and the Blowfish. For the rock people, Shinedown is going to be there.
They're heavy.
Yeah.
You got some metal too.
So you've got the headbangers taken care of with Shinedown, and you have the country folk taken care of with Darius Rucker. Applause to the Canfield Fair. Bravo. Good job. Now, hopefully, we'll actually have a fair. Last year, we kind of got screwed out of one because of COVID.
Get one this year.
Yeah, well, hopefully we do get one. The 175th edition of the Canfield Fair.
You got to hope that the skies are clear for that, 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, no kidding. Pre-sale tickets are available this Wednesday, June the 9th at 10 a.m. at the box office at the fairgrounds. So Darius Rucker and Shinedown. Darius Rucker is going to be performing on the 5th, and Shinedown is going to be on the 6th. By the way, Shinedown opens their tour, I think a 30-city tour, Canfield Fair.
I don't want to think about the fair yet because that also means that summer's almost over.
Well, that also means that we're 2 weeks into the high school football season.
Which is exciting, but
it is. But give me my
football season also brings cold weather.
Yeah, give me my summer before we start talking about the fair.
Give me 3 months where I can go out in a t-shirt and shorts.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Speaking of t-shirts and shorts, they're not. They can be used on the softball field, but it's mainly uniforms.
You watched a lot of those old College World Series highlights. A lot of teams wore shorts. Not too
Indeed. Jeff DeRose going to join us in just a bit. Stick around. More to come on this Monday edition of Running Points, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
This is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
If you're looking for a quality pre-owned vehicle, why shop anywhere else but Tri-State Ford? Choose from our great selection of pre-owned vehicles. Plus, we've got you covered with our exclusive Tri-State Ford Advantage. It includes a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty with your pre-owned vehicle and much more. Come see why so many customers from the Tri-State area buy their pre-owned vehicle at Tri-State Ford.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point, as we are joined on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline by the head softball coach at South Range High School, Jeff DeRose. Coach, congratulations and welcome aboard on this Monday edition of Running Point.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking my call.
What a heck of a journey for South Range in this 2021 campaign. And you know, Anthony and I were talking before the season started about how much the 2020 campaign or how much of not playing in 2020 could possibly come back and bite some teams early on. It certainly didn't give you guys any problems. You started out really well and started and just consistently played great softball all the way through the season.
Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised that our season went as well as it did, with the fact that we've only really had 3 returning starters from the 2019 season. So basically, 6 of our players that started the season were first-year high school players. 4 of them were sophomores, and then I had a freshman center fielder when Bree Kohler pitched, and a freshman designated player that hit for one of our outfielders. So, but I knew the talent level that these girls had. They all play travel ball, which is wonderful for me. You know, it's just my job to get them to play together, and you know, they clicked right away. So it was a great season because of that.
And when you look back on your tournament run, I mean, we've talked about it on YSN a lot, but it seemed like every single day there were different people stepping up, whether it be Madison Dato making good catches in the outfield in the districts, whether it be Julie Stackowitz hitting the home run in the regionals. Bree Kohler definitely had her moments where she shined the brightest. What was it about this team that kind of had everyone kind of step up on different days, and there wasn't maybe 1 or 2 people that said, I have to put the team on my back?
Yeah, you know what? And that's a lot of people in our area think that Bree Kohler is like our whole team, but you know, you talk to Bree and she'd be the first one to admit that we are a team. We have the Julie Stackowitzes and Madison Datos and Sam Suzanni's, Jamie Farron. All those kids stepped up and did something. You know, Jamie's made some tremendous catches that got us out of innings. You know, second base, running behind first base in foul territory. You know, just great plays. Reagan Irons has had a great year. You know, I can go on and on with those girls. And, you know, you can't discount the fact that Jillian Strakansky, who was a catcher all her life, converted to shortstop, had a fantastic season there. So, we're very blessed. And, with moving Jillian there, Kelly Zolik stepped up and did an awesome job behind the plate. In fact, she got accolades in the district and state levels this year. So, I can't speak enough about all of our kids. They've all contributed all season.
Jeff DeRose, the South Range softball coach, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Coach, I'm a huge believer in playing up with your schedule, and one of the things I truly appreciate about South Range, not only are you in a really good league in the Northeast 8, you also play every year down in Myrtle Beach, playing against some really good competition, and that in and of itself gets these kids ready when you make a deep tournament run like this year.
Yeah, that's on purpose. We go down there every year, for a couple of reasons, for team camaraderie, team bonding, things like that. But the tournament director down in Myrtle always asks us, how strong are you going to be? And basically our answer every year is we want the 5 best teams down there, so we want to play them. When we come back, we go up to Stowe and play Stowe every year, and Talmadge up at a memorial tournament up there. And then we host our own tournament, and, we schedule the likes of Boardman and teams like that. So I think that prepares us. Case in point, I think there's other teams that do that as well. And, the one victory that we had in the state semis, that team had a record of, I believe, 16-10. But they played such a tough schedule that 10 losses is understandable. And you know what? They played up a hard schedule, and look where they made it. So that's our plan every year. It's going to be our plan next year.
Coach, I know you've probably talked about the state championship game out the wazoo in the last 24 hours, and you're probably sick of trying to relive it. But just real quick for us, run through, from your perspective, how the game went, what you think happened, and some of the maybe moments that even though you lost, you'll really take away from that game and say, wow, this was a really good play, or this was really good at bat, or I'm proud of this effort here, and some of the things you take away from that game.
Yeah, it started out when we had we were down 2-0, and I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but there was an error committed in the first by the first baseman, and Julie does a fantastic job at first. Don't get me wrong. I think that's one error she's had in many games, and that as a result of that, 2 runs got pushed over, and they were unearned. So sometimes that takes the wind out of your sails, especially when you're in a big game like that. We only struck out 3 times yesterday, so we put the ball in play, but unfortunately, we didn't have the South Range softball hitting clinic that we normally have. There's many games that we've had north of 18 hits, and we only squeaked out 3 hits yesterday, and, obviously not good enough to win. So, I don't think there were moments where we actually even challenged them after they put up those couple of runs. So, it wasn't a typical South Range softball game, but, it is what it is. We're happy to be where we were, and, hopefully one day, instead of taking home the silver, we'll take home the gold.
Coach, was it something that Paige Rasica, the starting pitcher, did differently? I know that she didn't walk anyone, which, I've been saying, hey, if you don't commit any errors and your pitching doesn't walk anybody, then you don't have any free base runners unless somebody got hit by a pitch. So you keep the walks down, you keep the errors down, but she didn't strike hardly anyone out. She only struck out 3 batters. Did she do something differently that maybe you guys weren't expecting?
Well, we had the opportunity to actually watch the game that they played in the state semis, and she looked impressive, but she wasn't the best pitcher we've seen all year, which surprises me because I thought we were going to hit her way better than we did. But she did change location very well. She does pick on the outside corner a lot, and then she'd throw a rise ball, and we would chase the rise ball even as much as we tried to tell our girls, you got to lay off the pitches above your hands. Make her work. She barely threw, I don't think she even threw 60 pitches yesterday. So, we were up there swinging. I remember a 5-pitch inning, and we were up there swinging, just couldn't get the meat of the bat on the ball. And, she she did a great job mixing speeds and locations, and it's kept us off balance, and we couldn't get to her.
You've been in this situation before, state runner-up in 2016, and you really only lost one senior that year. You came back. Looking forward and trying to build off the state championship run, what's that kind of like, and what kind of things does this team have to do next year to realize that it's not handed to them because they just got there last year, and the work has to stay the same if they want to get back and have another shot at it?
Yeah, the work definitely is going to stay the same. I don't think Coach Farron and I will do many things different next year. You know, losing Bree Kohler's a big loss, but, you know, she's replaceable because, you know, we were there, like you said, in 2016. We replaced the Kerrigan Yannick with the Bree Kohler. So, you know, who's the next Kerrigan or Bree that's going to come up into our program to get us to there? But, you know, I look at Julie Sakowicz, Sam Suzanne, and Reagan Irons, who are our other pitchers. I think that Julie, a lefty, throws hard. She can change speeds, but she needs work in hitting locations. And if we can get her to do that, as well as Sam and Reagan, I think they can take us there. You know, we're only missing 2 players. So, but it's not easy to get back there. I can tell you that, because when we did it in 2016, we came back with 8 returning players. The following year, didn't get out of districts. So, you know, with good talent and playing together, there's also a little luck involved in getting there as well.
Well, in Division III in this area, I think everyone agrees that it's beyond stacked with your team and Ursuline and Champion and a few other teams that are going to hopefully try to make the jump to be in that type of class. I mean, year in, year out, you know you're going to be in a dogfight with those 2 programs and some of the other programs that put together a solid team.
Yeah, I tell you what, just like I think one of our toughest games all year was the Tuslaw game. Boy, they came ready to play, and they gave us one of the biggest battles we've had all year. So, you know, getting through even the likes of Tuslaw, when you get to that level, you're usually going to play somebody that's really good. But it's really, really difficult to get out of regionals in our area because, you know, not even just in Division III, all the divisions have really good teams in this area. I mean, look at Austintown Pitch. They couldn't even get out, and they had one of the best pitchers in our area. So, you know, it's playing together as a team, and hopefully things click for you game after game. And they did for us. Just yesterday just wasn't our day.
You know, and you talked about pitching and what it's going to be like next year. And, man, I couldn't believe this when I looked back on it, but you guys in the last decade haven't had a pitcher not go to college. I mean, you had Madison Yannick, your daughter Carly, and then you had Darian, and then, of course, Kerrigan, and then Bree came after that. So what's it been like over the last, 11, 10 years to watch these pitchers just keep developing and keep, kind of reloading in the circle and being able to establish such success over the last decade?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a blessing to our coaching staff and our team, obviously, to have pitchers who have the desire to move on to the next level. You know, I believe that the 3 pitchers that I just mentioned, Julie, Sam, and Reagan, all have the desire to move on to the next level, whether they move on as pitchers or not. But, you know, what's good for us is the fact that they all play travel ball and get reps there. They all have pitching coaches and go to there. You can't become a college pitcher if you don't work at it, not only during the season, but during the off season. So, you know, we look at developing pitchers. You know, Coach Farron and I know enough about it to teach them other things that their pitching coaches don't teach them. But, you know, it's developing at a younger age. In fact, we put together a junior high team, and they actually start playing tomorrow. They play every Tuesday. And so 7th and 8th graders, I understand there's some pitchers there that have some promise. So, you know, we'll get down, we'll take a look at them and, you know, see what our future's like.
Coach, when does the off season begin for these kids, or has it already started?
Well, you know, most of them, like I said, they all play travel ball, so their off season they don't have one. They go right into travel. In fact, a lot of their teams already play games which they could not participate in. So I think, you know, for the most part, our starting lineup will be able to rest somewhere around mid-July, and And then, if we can do something in the fall, high school-wise, then we'll do that. We did something in the summer last year only because of the COVID year. We missed our spring season, but there is no off season for them because even after they're done playing for their teams, like I said, they go to their respective coaches, whether it be pitching, hitting, catching, whatever. This is basically an 11-month sport, in my opinion. And it never used to be that way, but I can just remember back when my daughter played that we were doing something pretty much every month until, travel ball was over and I made her take a break. So that's kind of like the precedence that's been set, everywhere now with any sport, not just softball.
Let me ask you something, and we have Jeff DeRose on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. Being that there isn't much of an off season, is there a weightlifting program for these kids, or is it just go play softball and get better?
No, I mean, there are programs, and some of our girls go to strength and conditioning coaches, but I have the luxury of having a teacher that's on staff, Gianna Rowan, who expressed interest in getting time in the weight room this fall for our kids, and I'm all for that. Getting stronger, more durable, more loose, if you will, is good. Does it help your softball skills? I guess the verdict's out on that, but I think more softball reps is more important than getting in the weight room, fine-tuning skills and things like that. But I think we are going to toy around. We have in the past when I had Madison Yannick on staff. And, it didn't seem to noticeably help out. But, what it does do is get these kids together, and they're getting used to being together. And then because when we're as a team, they know what each other's attitudes, mental toughness and all that stuff is like.
The players get right in the travel ball, but what about you as a coach? I mean, when do you start thinking about next season? Have you already started thinking about next season, or do you try to give yourself maybe a week or two to just kind of take in this season and try to turn your brain off for a little bit?
Anthony, I thought of next season as soon as that last out was made yesterday, actually. I'm honest to God, I'm not just saying that. It's just like, okay, when you got to, as a head coach, you can't stop thinking about what you need to do. And not that I'm going to be doing anything, but you just kind of in your mind, see what your roster is going to be like next year. Does Sam Suzanne, for example, does she move from left field to shortstop, or do we have a freshman coming up that's a better shortstop than Sam? I mean, those are the things we don't know. And that's why we do, this fall thing, if we're able to get into a fall league this year. And, that's when you touch and feel. And usually our scrimmages and the first few games of the year, we try to figure things out. But, I am going on vacation next week, so I'll have some time to relax, not thinking about softball, hopefully. But like to answer your question, quite frankly, I thought about next season as soon as that last out was recorded yesterday.
And just like me, I can't stop. Me, I was at the next game. I couldn't stop the softball fix. I'm sure you're going to be the same way. In maybe a couple of weeks, you're going to be like, man, I should be at a field somewhere. How much travel ball do you go and watch in these kids and try to kind of take in how much they're developing over the summer?
Yeah, I do try to make at least one game. Especially when they're in town, if they're playing in Canfield or someplace that's relatively close, I try to go and hopefully that there are girls, that they all play for different teams except for a couple of them, that they're all at the same complex at the same time, so I can make my rounds and watch them play a game. But I've gone to North Ridgeville before and watched them. I try to see, where's their travel coach putting them? Is it something that I'm missing? But the fact of the matter is you can't have 2 or 3 shortstops. So if you do that, you have 2 or 3 shortstops on travel teams, they all can't play shortstop in high school. So, but we do get out, and Coach Farron used to coach travel ball, and I'm sure he'll get out and watch some of the girls as well. And, we'll see what happens again in the fall.
The softball head coach for the South Range Raiders, Jeff DeRose, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. I'm curious, when you go to one of these events, Does the coaching light come on? I mean, I know you're not the head coach, but does the coaching light come on whenever you see a travel ball softball game?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what would I do in this situation? Light comes on, but of course I can't speak up. It's their will and their way. But yeah, I mean, when you go there, you're obviously looking at, the talents of the kids that you're going to watch, but at the same time, maybe you're learning something from the travel coach as well. I mean, as coaches, you're never done learning. Every year I go to a coaching clinic in Columbus. Of course, we didn't have one this past year because of COVID, but, when you go to these events, if you weren't trying to coach that game in your mind, then you're not doing your job.
One of the things I want to talk about is the seniors that got the diplomas before the game on Saturday, and not just that, but the Steve Rowan and all the executive staff at South Range making sure that they're there. They went to do the ceremony, they were at the game, and they went to the baseball game later. Talk about what it's like to be a part of a school system where the executive staffs just unbelievably care about the students, and they don't mind going and spending their whole day out in the sun in a suit and tie, mind you, for Steve Rowan. Out there in the blazing 88 degrees just to make sure that those girls get that moment. What's it like to see people care about them that much and invest in them that much?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll go back to when I had kids and they were approaching school age. I had researched several schools in the area, for a school that cares about their students, had good academics. And we narrowed it down to actually 2 schools, and it was South Range and Springfield. And thank God we picked South Range because, I'm a transplant. I'm from Pennsylvania. And when I come to South Range and got to know the people and the way that the administration treats not only their students but their staff and coaching staff, it's like a family. And I would never, ever move from this district. Even if something better came up, I wouldn't even look back. I'm a South Range Raider at heart.
You kind of put a dig in there with your rival Springfield Tigers, Coach. I'm just saying it's kind of a little bit of a dig. It's good to see that though, because you got a nice rivalry going on with Springfield.
Yeah, it's fun to have that rivalry. Again, when I was looking, it had nothing to do with athletics because I didn't even know if any of my kids were ever going to even play sports. But it was more looking at academics and class size. So definitely not a dig on Springfield. Springfield always has good sports programs. So not a dig on them athletically at all or academically.
How about the seniors going forward? What should fans of Youngstown State and Marietta softball be expecting from Bree and Jillian and their ability to kind of step up at the next level and make that step? I'm sure you have the utmost confidence that they can both do it.
Yeah, I believe that they can. Bree's, I don't know if she'll pitch at YSU. Hopefully she will because I think she's good enough to, at least get in and get some innings and keep them in games. But I think her strength, we didn't get to see her play a whole lot of center field this year because she had the majority of the innings on the mound. But, when she wasn't pitching, the kid she can track down fly balls anywhere. I think that's where her strength's going to be at YSU, in addition to coming in and pitching from time to time as well. I just understand that their pitching staff right now is really strong. Hopefully they do have room for Bree. And as far as Jillian, I think they recruited her as a catcher. And, I don't know what Marietta's makeup is as far as depth at catcher, but Jillian's a fantastic catcher. And, I moved her out of there because I had Kelly Zolik. And Jillian did a tremendous job at shortstop. So, maybe she'll have, 2 positions at Marietta. And I think she can make an impact as well. Jillian's a strong player. She just had, a couple bad games later on in the season. And, if she can get a little stronger mentally, I think she's going to be a tremendous player for Marietta.
Well, Coach, Bree Kohler sure did look comfortable in the circle at the Youngstown Regionals at the home of the YSU softball team, Farmers National Bank Field. She looked really, really comfortable in that circle in those 2 games. I'm just saying.
Yeah, she did. She was excited to play on the field. She's going to be playing that for the next 4 years. She wanted to be there because we were supposed to go to Massillon, but I think if she had her way, she wanted to play at Youngstown State, and playing more in front of her home crowd and people that she's going to be around for the next 4 years. But Bree is Bree, and she's just a tremendous player regardless of where she's playing.
Yeah, Coach, and one of the things that I love about this program is we talked about the support from the administration, but the community support and the fact that the parents all get along together. I mean, I know everyone just, hey, let's go to Risers after the state championship loss, and it's a family not just with the staff and the coaches and the team, but it's a family with the families. Talk about that and what it's been like to get to know some of these players' families and to really bond, not just because you coach their daughter, but bond because they're friends that you've been able to make over the years. Yeah, I mean, the South Ranch family is tremendous, and like I said, I feel like I've been here all my life, and it's a wonderful feeling. And going through the program over the years and thinking back of the players that are no longer and haven't been in our system for a while, I'm still friends with. So, you create those friendships right away, and every year I get to meet new people, and they don't all pan out to be lifetime friends, but a lot of them do, which is fantastic, and I feel like I'm welcome here, and which is huge for me.
Coach, congratulations on an incredible journey for this softball team, and obviously this is a team that could very easily go back again next year, but just an incredible ride. Congratulations on that and continued success at South Ranch.
Yep, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we plan on being back.
There you go. Jeff, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff DeRose, the head softball coach at South Ranch High School, joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. A masterful job this year. Can't say enough good things about that program. It's just a damn shame they came up empty in the final game. But like I said, you get to the state semifinals, you've done something right.
Heck, you get to the semifinals, you've done something right. Then if you're able to win a game at state, which they've done twice now, and that's even more impressive because everyone is extremely good in the Final Four, and to get a win in the semifinals, especially when you're a program that hasn't been there a lot, it was just their second appearance in the state semifinals, then that's impressive. You're going up against a Johnstown team that has been there a couple of times, and we know Maddie Lusk, who pitched for YSU, was a Johnstown alum. So they're a bright program that plays a tough team. So to get that win and to get 2 state semifinal wins under your belt, great for the program going forward. And I think he can use a little bit of experience from 2017 to try to make sure this team understands next year that just because they got there, it's not handed to them. I think one of the problems in 17 was they had everyone back except for one senior, and they just kind of coasted a little bit. They took their foot off the gas pedal and felt like, we got the state, we're going to get back, and it didn't click that the work needed to be just as hard as it was when they were trying to get the first run, and that's why they didn't get out of districts.
Yeah, you can't assume anything. And look, you can't assume anything when you have 2 elite programs in your own backyard in Champion and Ursuline.
It's hard to tell, because once again, we're dealing with kids. When you go to a state championship game, you only lose one senior, and you're coming back with everybody. It's hard to tell them, hey, we might not make it out of districts. It's hard for that to get implanted into their brains, but it's true, and it happened.
Well, it's hard to tell fans in a team that goes to the playoffs, and yes, I'm talking to you, Browns fans, that you go to the playoffs, you knock off Pittsburgh, and then go to the AFC divisional round and lose to Kansas City and lose in a way where it was a really competitive game. And then you turn around and say, oh, well, we're ready to go to the next step. Okay. You are, but the team still has to do it. Right. It's fortunately, the pros pretty much know that you have to do a little bit more in order to go to that next level. The fan base, not so much.
I think South Range could be very dangerous next year because they can be a team that pitches by committee. And that's all. If you have 3 pitchers that can pitch maybe 75 innings apiece, instead of one pitcher that pitches, I think Bree finished with 130, somewhere around there, then you have a solid chance because teams can't prepare for one pitcher.
Well, let me ask you.
Softball's starting to change, especially at the higher level, the college levels, where you don't see a lot of teams that just ride one pitcher.
Yeah, but let me ask you I would think, and I'll defer to you on this. I would think if you're going 3 pitchers, but they all offer the same thing, that's not going to be effective. You got to have some diversity with that.
You definitely do. You would love someone that works a little bit more up in the zone, brings velocity, and then maybe someone else that either can go side to side or works down in the zone. Something to change the eye level and the speed, at least different velocities, so you can change the balance of the hitter.
Yeah, give me a salad tosser with a lot of control and a flamethrower that can basically strike everyone out. And okay, now we have our nice little duo, and add a third that does a little bit of both.
Look, Julie and Bree are the same type of pitchers. They both throw hard, but even with that, there are differences in pitchers. The release point's different. Obviously, Julie's a left-handed pitcher, so the spot where you pick up the ball is different. Maybe one pitcher might throw a screwball, one pitcher might throw a curveball. So you find little intricacies in that, even if you're not blessed in high school to say, well, I have a drop ball pitcher, rise ball pitcher, and a pitcher that can come in and blow you away with velocity. It's like, well, not every roster has that ability.
Is it still, I know in baseball it is so difficult for a left-handed hitter to hit a left-handed pitcher. Is it the same way in softball?
It's not as apparent. They aren't sitting there crunching. Well, this team has a lot of left-handed hitters. Let's throw a left-handed pitcher. It's not as much of a strategy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, if you have a good curveball as a left-handed pitcher, it is so hard for a left-handed hitter to hit it because it's coming in at them. And a lot of left-handed hitters in softball want to serve the ball opposite field and do that slap hitting. It's almost impossible to hit a slap against a left-handed pitcher that throws a curveball in it.
Well, a curveball or a drop ball that goes to the back part of the foot.
You go watch highlights of Kalani Ricketts, who played for Oklahoma in 2013, was her senior year, and then now plays on the U.S. national team. She has a drop curve as a left-handed hitter. You watch lefties try to hit it. You just almost if it's on, you can't. You can't hit it. It comes down in at you.
Yeah.
Almost like a back foot slider in baseball.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Because with the underhand motion, I would think it's going to be easier for a left-handed hitter because you're not seeing this. And with a guy that throws a curveball like Clayton Kershaw, the curveball started when he was in his prime. The curveball started 2 feet behind the left-handed hitter, and it would swoop into the strike zone.
And for a right-hander, it's coming into you, and the left-hander is coming.
It's coming away from you.
Right.
Yeah, to where curveballs in softball for a left-hander, it's coming into you, not away from you.
Yeah, curveball goes away from right-handed hitters. Screwball goes into right-handed hitters.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
So
yeah, that's interesting, very interesting, and it's a completely different swing in softball where you're not going down like this in softball. You're going upward.
Yeah, and actually the swing isn't different, but you're seeing the ball come down up at you, even a drop ball. It's starting low and coming up, and then it'll have a little bit of baseball. Every pitch, even the ones that look high on TV, have a little bit of a down angle to them. There's almost no rising pitch in baseball.
No, I mean even a four-seam fastball, unless someone's doctoring the ball, which they are. And oh, by the way, we'll get to that in a little bit. You're going to see a flat level or downward level.
As far as swing mechanics go, I mean, you break down some of the elite softball swings and then do a photo-by-photo comparison to some of the elite baseball swings. Pretty much the same. I mean, hands back, eye to the ball, the triangle between the shoulders. So the swing doesn't change too much. You just got to have, baseball hitters have to have quick hands down. Softball hitters have to have quick hands up to get the right ball.
And it was interesting that Coach DeRose had said, hey, don't swing anything above your hands. It's the same rule in baseball. You have the high strike, which is a letter letter fastball, if your hands are where the letters are, you don't swing at anything above your hands.
So when hitting a rise ball, you tell someone to see the ball down, because if you're going to swing at it and it's already at your hands by the time you're swinging, you know it's going to be here.
Yeah.
Because of the rise. But if you see a ball and it's here and it's a rise ball when you're going to swing, then it's going to be at a hittable spot. It's going to be across your letters. You can take that over the fence if you get a piece of it.
Gotcha.
So.
All right, 330-886-0813. Buster Olney over the weekend came up with a really interesting tidbit involving the Major League umpires and what they are going to be doing in the very near future to curb the doctoring of the baseballs that is now getting completely out of hand.
You'll have to kind of give me because I don't know what's been going on. I've been so into softball last 2 weeks.
This is an interesting story that a lot of pitchers are now going to be thinking twice. We'll get to that story in just a bit. It is a Monday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Ruud gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy efficient expert MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Ruud, and so should you.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Years ago, Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods began with 3 siblings, a hand-set sawmill, and a few local orders. And while business has certainly changed over the years, what has not are our principles of hard work, craftsmanship, and commitment to quality. At Baird Brothers, we're proud to put our name on the products we create, from moldings and doors to flooring and lumber. Thank you for 60 great years. We look forward to 60 more. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
All right, welcome back to this Monday edition of Running Point. Okay, so Buster Olney over the weekend. Buster Olney got an edict from Major League Baseball. Under a plan, I'm going to read this tweet from Buster as is. Under the plan being swiftly advanced through Major League Baseball, umpires will be repeatedly and randomly checking pitchers for foreign substances in a push that could begin within 2 weeks. Estimates are there could be 8 to 10 checks per game as pitchers depart games. This was all based upon a story Ken Rosenthal and The Athletic filed a few weeks ago where there's proof that balls are being doctored throughout Major League Baseball. It's getting out of hand, to which I said last week, and I'll continue to say, as far as I'm concerned, this is the exact same thing as the steroid kids from the 1990s, and you need to treat them as such. The first person that gets caught using a foreign substance to get an advantage on a baseball, to have more spin rate equals more movement equals less of a chance for a player to hit a ball. If you are caught using a foreign substance on the first offense, you should be suspended for 80 games. The second offense, you should be suspended for an entire baseball season. And the third offense, you should be banned from baseball. You treat these people the way you treated the steroid users, and you will see cheating in terms of doctoring the baseball gone or substantially lowered as quickly as humanly possible. And it's the only way you're going to get rid of what is becoming a rampant problem in Major League Baseball. You have got to drop the hammer on these guys, period. It's to me, okay, you want to do the checking, great. But if you throw a guy out of the game and have no teeth with the punishment, the pitcher's going to look back and go, you're not hurting me. You're going to suspend me for 5 games? Big deal. That's 1 start for me. You're going to suspend me for 10 games? That's 2 starts. I got 30 more in my bag for the whole year. You got to drop the hammer on these guys. Drop it. 80 games. First and foremost, treat them like they were steroid users back in the day. Treat them as such, because they're cheating the game. And all cheaters should have the hammer dropped on them. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Tony, we're not going to drop a hammer on you. What's going on, brother?
We might. I don't know. He might have a dig at the Chiefs.
Well, if he has a dig at the Chiefs, you might have a hammer dropped at you, courtesy of Anthony.
Yeah, okay. In that quote, to which there is proof. What proof is there? I'm sorry.
There was Ken Rosenthal wrote a story on The Athletic 3 weeks ago. He did not name the team, but he said a National League team was celebrating a rookie's first hit as they were driving the bus from the ballpark back to the hotel. The ball was being passed around, and players said that there were strands of glue on the baseball. And as everyone knows, baseballs do not have glue on them. They're tightly wrapped up, but there's no glue. There's never been a glue on a baseball.
Did they send that baseball and say this is? I mean, are we just going by their word that there was glue on it?
They were picking strands of glue off of this baseball, absolutely. But then there was other things that they did, and they don't get into the specifics, but they have found a lot of baseballs have been doctored this year. So.
I think it's probably easy enough to track this stuff. I'm just simple science. Well, any substance, you could put a light to it and determine, varying substances.
And honestly, Tony, I don't think Buster Olney said anything about that, but it wouldn't surprise me if an umpire carried with him.
Pitch a ball out. They pitch balls out of play all the time.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he had one of those. What are those things that the cops will use for?
We're turning into CSI. They're gonna have the dark light.
Yeah, the dark ultraviolet ray, and they're gonna look around the baseball and say, okay, hey, look. I mean, if it's doctored up.
What have you been doing with this?
It's going to any substance will show up under varying light. So, and they can run a full spectrum of light across it and determine. And first of all, nobody cheats. This is the problem when you talk about. I don't care what you're talking about, whether it's elections or whatever. It's impossible to have widespread cheating without somebody with a big mouth spilling the beans. Somebody out there knows what substance is being put on the ball, and they can determine a test that easily identify that product.
Absolutely, and I will tell you who that somebody is the recently fired clubby with the Los Angeles Angels, who had a formula that he would give Angels pitchers to. A little bit of water, a little bit of pine tar, and you have a glue substance that you hide somewhere in your body. There were guys saying that, and I think Gaylord Perry famously said he hid all of his stuff in his crotch, where the uniform is, because no umpire would dare
pay though. They'd have to go searching for that, right?
Yeah, where no umpire would dare search that area because you'd probably get sued or punched out, one or the other.
No, it's interesting. Bottom line is, there's sports where people say if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, and we know that's racing. But I despise cheaters. I hate cheaters. I'm sorry. I find them disgusting human beings. Play legit or don't play at all.
Who's the guy on CSI Miami that it was Caruso? It was the redhead guy that if you ever watch CSI Miami, the first 4 minutes they're opening up this great case, and Caruso says something so stupid, and then you get the Who music with Pete Townsend screaming his lungs out as soon as Caruso said something.
The Hugh music was for the CSI Las Vegas, right? The normal.
Yeah. Well, the CSI Miami, you'd have the guy make a comment, and then the next thing you heard was "Won't Get Fooled Again," where Pete Townsend screams his bloody head off. So you hear Caruso doing da 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 da. The next thing you hear is "Yeah." I'm like, okay, so I can hear
my pop references aren't as.
So I can see. So I can see an umpire going. There's strands of glue here. We're going to be making a bust. Cue Pete Townsend.
It looks like wearing
sunglasses.
Looks
right?
like we're in a sticky situation.
Yeah, and he'll take the sunglasses off and he goes. Looks like we have a sticky situation.
I can't do the dramatic glasses with the headphones on.
He'll take the sunglasses off.
I heard you had a coach on. That's great. You had any other coaches on? I just caught you.
We're hoping to get JFK's baseball coach on later in the week before Friday, and we'll hopefully get Salem's coach and South Range's coach and get them on and talk about the regional runner-ups as well.
I have a personal interest in the Salem coach, and again, this isn't I'm a Hoban fan, and I would just like their perspective on that. But also, I think it's a great thing when a coach comes on and discusses a loss after they lose. You know what? It shows so much class, and by God, it's painful because of where you got knocked out of the playoffs.
Oh, sure.
So you're in a regional championship game. Come on.
Yeah, that's
God bless you. Your guys had a great season.
Yeah.
It's not a. So I would be just curious about. And I guess when I picked up the paper, the one thing I was shocked about was shocked. And I don't know why. I don't know anything about the game or anything. But the one game I would have bet my house on would have gone a different way was the Salem regional semifinal game. But I give you credit, Ron. You called that as a potential last week when we talked.
No, I thought Salem had it in them to beat Canfield, and it was going to be a tight game. I thought it would be a tight game, and hey, Salem outplayed them, and it was a really, really close game, and obviously both teams played really well. Unfortunately, you had to have a winner and you had to have a loser. That's how sports works, and a tough loss it's hard to take, but especially if it's your first loss. And that was the other thing, and Canfield's coach, Greg Nittle, talked a little bit about this. You go undefeated in the regular season, well, now your first loss is going to be, that's it. Your season is over. In a lot of ways, it's a lot easier to get that loss out of the way in the regular season and then march into the tournament where you don't have as much pressure on you.
Yeah. The one team had 9 losses going into the playoffs. Now they're on 9 losses during the season. Now they're on an 11-game win streak. I mean, that's the way you want to go. You want to go in hot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Hoban's on a 13-game winning streak going into the state semifinals, and honestly,
13. That's the team. That's the team I was referencing. If I may, and this is just general discussion. This isn't specific about Hoban, but I read the articles about their game, and they play team ball and they play small ball. I think we'll try to get to one of those games. Hopefully, both of them if they play through. First of all, do you guys know anything about tickets? I know you have to order them. Do they have an all access pass for all games?
I believe there is.
If it's like softball, which I don't know if baseball would do the same thing, but in softball you bought one ticket to one game. You were welcome to stay for all 4, but you weren't allowed to leave and re-enter. So one ticket got you into all 4, like state championships or all the 4 semifinals of that day.
So they don't clear the stands. So they get pretty darn packed by the third game of that day or whatever.
They did not clear the stands at Firestone. I mean, a lot of people left anyway because
Firestone's not very big either. Because when I went to a game at Firestone for the championship, my God, it was horribly packed.
It's big in the terms of a softball stadium, but not very big compared to the baseball stadiums that states going to be at.
All right, so the OHSAA, and I'm reading their information. OHSAA has partnered with Hometown Ticketing to offer OHSAA tournament tickets online. The games are posted 1 to 2 business days prior to the event starting date. I'm looking here real quick. Well, there's no information in terms of prices.
I'll find it out. I appreciate that. I know they're running all 4 championship games on Saturday, 10, 1, 4, and 7, so 3 hours apart.
Yeah, Thursday, day 1 is going to be divisions 2 and 3, starting at 10 a.m. over at Canal Park. Friday, divisions 1 and 4 will be online for Friday, and then the state championship day on Saturday. And hopefully, Mother Nature will not throw us a shower. Hopefully, you get the state championships 1 through 4 on Saturday, and we go from there.
But back to baseball, I was so excited about Kennedy winning, and the small ball that Hoban played was exciting to me. Bunting for hits, bunting to advanced runners, but your guy had a chance to get on, and just exciting stuff. Hoban's not a high-scoring team, so
I like it. I like the small ball when you play it right. I definitely like the small ball. The other part of it, if you got a runner at second base with no outs or 1 out, hit behind the runner and go to the right side of the infield and get that runner to third base if you don't bunt.
Two very scary things about Kennedy and Hoban. I kept talking about how young this Matthews team was. Kennedy has 6 freshmen on that team.
Yeah, that's they're not going anywhere anytime soon. They just got to replace Hollabaugh, which it's a little more difficult than you think. But yeah, you got to replace him. Which, if they can,
but
boy, they're going to be.
They've got to. You know what? There will be. I like Cam Hollabaugh, but there will be another Cam Hollabaugh. So I don't know if it'll be in that program. I don't know if it'll be in this next few years, but it's coming. I mean, that's the great thing about it. There's more athletes coming, and honor the ones that came ahead, but there's more coming.
Oh yeah,
and especially if you've got 6 freshmen, you're going to find in that freshman group. And I know some of these kids. I know there's some really good pitchers in that freshman group. So
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Guys who probably not have the opportunity to pitch there, but in their summer league teams are going to be back to their trade, pitching and developing for next year.
Yeah, they're not going away anytime soon. They're going to be a fixture in the Division IV playoffs for sure.
That coach is a first-year coach, I read too, which was exciting to see.
That's good. Hey, get the state jitters out of the way on Friday when you play, and hopefully they knock off Fort Laramie and go to the state championship game.
Did you have an opportunity to read the Tribune's article? They interviewed Cam Hollabaugh. He had a first-inning home run.
No, I got to look it up.
13 pitch at bat, and the kid is a thinking kid. I mean, he's just one of the things that happened. I think in that state championship football game was it was Cam Hollabaugh against 11 guys, and nobody can take on 11 guys. But in the baseball state, it was him at the plate against one other guy. It was a one-on-one, mano a mano, and that's a lot different situation. And you could hear in his words that it was him against that guy, and that's it. I don't have to try to play at 110% and fail. I just have to play at 100% and beat this guy. And I don't have to try to do too much. I just have to beat this guy.
Well, yeah, when that's one of the reasons why I love baseball, because you have a hitter-pitcher matchup, and it's not about going up against the rest of the team around the pitcher. It's going up against the pitcher. If I can get a ball where I can drive it, I'm going to have more than enough confidence in my abilities to put the ball where the defenders aren't.
Yeah, but it's exciting for them, and I'll reference it. To me, it's an omen. 16-17 school year, Kennedy beat Minster in the state football playoffs. And Minster came up runner-up, just like Kennedy came up this year, runner-up in football. Minster came back in the spring and became state champs of baseball. So, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they do get a state championship. That would be great.
I don't know. Have they ever had a baseball state championship?
No.
Their first trip to the Final Four.
Yeah, this is trip number 1 to the Final Four. So we'll see what they can do.
Wow. Exciting.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for the kids who didn't make it, but life lessons, I guess.
Yeah.
And, God bless you and
enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride, and if you're not a senior, get ready to work a little bit harder, and hopefully, with a little bit of luck, you can get back to that point next year and then surpass that point.
Well, I've enjoyed your guys' discussion about baseball. Hey, I'll catch you guys later.
All right, see you, Tony. All right, before we get out of here, and I am reading this article. It's not bad. He's got an interesting thought on as you're pitching with the lead instead of pitching while you're behind, and it's thoughtful quotes by Cam for sure. Do we have B League ball tonight?
We do. Let's look at the YSN schedule for the night.
Well, I was going to say we have to have some B League ball.
And I believe it's 18U tonight. And
there you go.
There's going to be 114U.
All right.
I'm going to confirm that with our schedule here. We have Class B on scene 1, 2, and 3. 114U game at scene 2 at 5:30. And then a 18U on scene 3 at 5:30. Scene 1 will be 18U at 6 and 8:30. And then there will be an 8 p.m. game on scene 3 that's 18U. And an 8:15 game on scene 2 that is 18U. Jamie will be on scene 1. Andy will be on scene 3. And Matt will be on scene 2.
There you go. So we got everyone covered with B League baseball tonight.
6 games and no threat of rain. Well, there's a little small chance of rain in the next hour or so, but for the rest of the night, it should be pretty clear.
Yeah, we should be good to go.
The rest of the week, there's like scattered showers, but nothing that right now seems like it's a full chance of rain for the day. So.
Yeah, and fingers crossed that the weekend is not destroyed because we cannot afford to have a bunched up baseball state semifinals.
You can keep track of the weather on the Storm 21.
Storm Track 21.
Storm Tracker 21.
Indeed.
App.
All right, we're out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Power Hour is coming up next. DJ and the fellas will be getting you through the 3 o'clock hour. Back at it tomorrow, noon to 3. We'll have some fun with that. And Wednesday, Brian Tolnar. We got to talk to Brian about the whole John Rahm getting forced to withdraw the tournament because he tested positive for COVID. Kind of a weird happenings going on there. But that's definitely on Wednesday. Tomorrow I'll be in noon to 3, Running Point.